We'd like to open the meeting with a moment of silent meditation or prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2 on the agenda, any public comment on any agenda items? Seeing no one come forward. Number 3 on the agenda, approval of council meeting minutes for the meeting July 23rd, 2018. Do we have any additions or corrections? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll put a motion, we accept the minutes as prepared.
I actually have 2 corrections.
You do?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Under number 14, the other business, just 2 items. The one about the traffic light at Humeville and Galloway. I had requested about a left turn arrow there, and there were some comments about the timing. Just need that corrected to reflect the issue about the actual arrow.
Okay.
And then the second one was the Waterside issue that I had brought up. There were some comments about, Mr. Pizzo said the project was sold from the current developer. And after reviewing the meeting, it didn't appear as if there was any indication that the project was sold at that particular time. So I'd just also like to make sure that that's corrected as well.
Any other?
Well, I don't understand. What are you saying there? It says Pizer said the project was sold from the current developer.
That wasn't stated at that time. That they were in the process of selling the development.
Well, I think there was an agreement of sale, it didn't go to settlement yet. So it's
Okay, so it wasn't sold then. The agreement of sale, once that's executed, would indicate that it was actually sold.
Well, it's semantics, but if something's sold and then it goes to settlement, it wasn't done yet, so.
Correct. So I just wanted to just note that it was in process and actually not sold at that point.
Okay, do we have any other additions or corrections? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Ed made the motion. Do we have a second?
You're going to amend?
I'll amend it to make it as changed, as corrected.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain because I was away.
Ayes have it 501. 401.
401.
Have to learn to count again.
Yes. Little St. Charles math. Yeah, Mr. Polari, before we get started, because we got a long agenda here, I see Fred Harand, our Public Safety Director, is here. And my understanding is that the school district voted to add a new resource officer for our school district, which I understand is going to the, hopefully covering the middle school. But perhaps Mr. Harand can come up and let us know what happened there.
Director?
Yes, as Mr. Knowles has stated, this year, for the school year which started today, we have added an officer to work in between the 2 middle schools. A veteran officer will be working between Schaefer and Snyder, splitting his time between both. We've talked to the school district, and at their last board meeting, they voted to help fund this project. They're funding the project for a total of 3 years of maximum funding, which spread out over 6 years payment. And this will help bring the resource officer really is a great asset to not just the school district, but to the township, to make sure that we can get ahead of problems before they arise. The high school officer has been very busy. They've been there 21 years. We had a resource officer in middle school some years back, but then had to pull that officer out for a variety of reasons. But now, in light of events in this country, we feel this is a necessary move to ensure the safety of the children. And also that you know that today was the first day of certain grades, and we had multiple officers at every school welcoming the children back to school so that they know they had a safe and successful school year ahead of them. We've got numerous compliments on Facebook and other outlets thanking us for that work, and I certainly appreciate the work of the mayor and council for allowing us to do that. And as you know, last week on the 21st of August, we also had a school safety day at the high school. Total attendance was about 100 people. A lot of them were employees of the school district, so I don't know how many parents actually came out, but we really talked about, for 2 hours, Dr. Lee and myself went over what the township has been doing and what the township will continue to do to ensure the safety of the children K through 12 in all of the public schools, the Catholic schools, the charter school, and any private schools that we have here in Bensalem. So that school resource officer that you asked about started today.
Oh, starting today, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then at the school safety thing, which most of our council members attended and the mayor was there, but Mr. Lee, our superintendent, really emphasized how the resource officer at Bensalem High School is really a part of that school. You know, he's more than just walking around. He interacts with the kids and his staff, and I think it's important that we have that coverage at our middle school, so I think it's a good thing.
Oh, I agree. And as you know, I've been here before, the key to it is to get to problems before they become a problem, so that we avoid being on CNN and we avoid being having an incident that's been going on around this country. So we're taking a lot of proactive measures to deal with those situations, and that we do have an officer, a police officer, a township police officer at the school to be that security aspect, but also the resource not only to the school district but to the township as well.
So there are 2 officers, is that correct? There are 2 officers now in place. Okay, and the thing that impressed me the most being there was the policy that is in place, which now allows a police officer to immediately go into a school if there's a problem, not setting up a perimeter as possibly would have done in the past, or certainly was demonstrated in the past from other schools in a tragic manner.
The history of police response has changed dramatically from the 60s and then to the early 60s to the late 60s, and then of course to 1999, and then again on Valentine's Day of 2018. There's been 3 major incidences in the country that have changed the police response, and the latest one just happening within this past year really changes our dynamics and our response tactics, if you will. But you're absolutely correct. We no longer wait for other officers. One officer will go in and try to neutralize the subject and deal with the situation at hand.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate it. Appreciate what your department does.
Thank you very much for your continued support in this matter.
Number 4 on the agenda, I think we have a lot of people here that are welcoming this one. Public hearing on a resolution approving the placement of a referendum question upon the November 2018 municipal election ballots within the township.
In order for this question to be placed on the ballot, in order for the voters of the township to be asked to consider increasing the amount of property tax that goes to funding our volunteer fire companies, the referendum question must first be approved by the township council to be placed on the ballot. If the council this evening approves the placement of this question on the ballot, the question then gets presented to the County Board of Elections for their review and approval in order for the question to appear on the November ballot within the township. So the question has been framed. It is attached to the resolution. It is a fairly simple and straightforward question, which is, shall the Township Council of the Township of Bensalem be authorized to increase the real property tax for the operation and maintenance of the fire companies serving the township by an additional $1 million? The resolution is in a form we believe acceptable for your consideration and action this evening, and I believe there are some representatives of the various volunteer fire companies serving the township who are here, I assume, to speak either in favor or against this question. I'm going to assume in favor, but so that's where things are on this particular item, Mr. Polari.
Thank you, sir. Before I ask for a motion, I just want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the service you performed for this township. Without you giving us the fire protection, the rescue protection that we need, we wouldn't be able to do it, and I just want to thank you. I'm going to make a motion, then we'll get a motion, then I'll give you the opportunity to speak. Okay? Do we have a motion on the consideration of the public hearing on a resolution approving the placement of referendum question upon the November 28th, 2018 municipal election ballot within the township?
I'll put that in the form of a motion, Mr. President.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Before we go to the, before we go to the vote, we'll give you guys the opportunity to speak on this.
Question for the motion.
Mayor and council, just a brief overview. Talk about a 1 mil tax increase. A 1 mil tax increase, the average household will be $23.66 over a year. So that's 45 cents a week on a tax increase. So it's nothing drastic. It's people spend more than that on a cup of coffee a week. All right. It's been 15 years since the fire companies have received a tax increase. The cost of our apparatus has doubled in 15 years. The cost for us to put one firefighter in turnout gear and SCBA to enter a burning building is $10,000. So all those costs have increased drastically over the years because of the standards have increased. We're obligated at that point to upgrade our equipment to current standards. Our insurance costs have gone up over 50% over the last 15 years. So right now, we're behind the 8 ball. We need to catch up, and we need to budget. We purchase our own apparatus out of the tax money, so we have to plan and save money. So if we don't have the money to save, we can't purchase apparatus. So if the cost is doubling in 15 years, which has been our trend for our tax increases, before this one was 12 years. So it's not like we're coming before council every 5 or 10 years for tax increases. So we have to plan for the replacement of apparatus, replacement of equipment, plus maintenance of everything, and do our own budgets. So I think a 1 mil tax increase at this point of $23.66 per household in Bensalem is nothing drastic. So we're hoping that you look at this favorably to approve this so we can approach the public in the November election to have this approved. And we'll hope that you both collectively, Republicans and Democrats, support this.
If this passes, the presentation you just made to us is excellent. Are you going to make that presentation to the public also?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's important that it be done this way because it gives you a steady stream of income that you can count on, because you can't count on the whims of a council 5 or 10 years from now being able to give you money or coming up with a safer grant that we met the Trevose people with. That's things that last a year or two. This allows you to budget for a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. And the fact that you haven't gotten a mill since, for 15 years, I was actually surprised.
If this gets approved, we won't receive the money till 2019. Our last increase was 2004. In that time frame, everything has drastically increased.
Yeah, the volunteer fire companies in our township have done more with less than any other organizations. So, it's certainly something I'll favor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to put this on the record so the people at home know and understand why this is coming up at this time. I thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, my name is Dave Hunter. I'm the president of Nottingham Fire Company. Can I just hear the question as it reads now one more time? That's going to be put on the ballot.
Shall the Township Council of the Township of Bensalem be authorized to increase the real property tax for the operation and maintenance of the fire companies serving the township by an additional 1 mil? Yes
Can
or
we
no?
amend that to add the word volunteer so it's not to be misconstrued as to be part of the paid system that Bensalem already has in place? Council President has already addressed us as volunteers, and that is exactly what we are. And I think it's important that the community understands that these are volunteer men and ladies that are doing this, not the career members of the township.
Yeah, it would be going to the volunteers.
I believe that we could do that, as long as the board's okay with that.
Sure, volunteer fire companies.
Yeah.
The money's going
As
to
opposed to just
volunteer
saying fire
departments, not to
companies,
the
which would be
paid-
Yeah, it's not going to,
misconstrued.
it's not, it never was, but it's better to clarify that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, thank you.
Okay, so, Ed, do you want to amend your motion to, you made the motion, right?
Yes.
Amended
Amend
for
the motion.
Yeah, I am going to
volunteer
amend it to change the word to read operation and maintenance of the volunteer fire company serving the township by an additional 1 mil. The
And-
word volunteer will be added to that.
I'll second my motion with the amendment.
Any questions on the motion?
The only question that I have is, are we authorized to levy this without putting it on the ballot?
It is going on the ballot.
That's
That's the whole thing.
That's what
Put it on
this
the
is
ballot.
for.
Are we authorized to increase the tax by a 1 mil increment without going on a referendum on the ballot?
Is that what we're doing?
No, I believe we asked that question and we didn't have enough to be able to do that.
What do you mean we don't have enough?
I don't believe that we can do that without going out to referendum. Joe or Lauren, do you want to answer that?
I'm not sure where, the resolution indicates that the current, or in November 2003, the voters of the township previously approved the tax at 7 mils for the maintenance of fire company serving the township, and that, in fact, is where the phrase "fire company serving the township" came from. The section of the second-class township code that pertains to this particular tax authorizes the township to put the question on referendum at any point in time when the millage would exceed 3 mils. And so the township having previously, and that's in the first paragraph, the township previously having put the question on actually twice, once back in the 90s, to go from 3 or whatever the number was then to 5 mils, and again in 2003 to go from 5 to 7 mils. We believe that it's required for the township to put the question
Because
on.
the total is already above 3 mils, it would have to go on the ballot.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
And the history is that we've done it in the past.
Well, I know we've done it, and I think this is great. I mean, it's
Any other-
unfortunate that it's been 15 years, and hopefully this buys them, at least that long. It may not, but I think this does improve things for the township. You guys are invaluable to, what we go through just living our daily lives, so thank you for all the sacrifices you make.
Any other questions on the motion?
No, the other item I would point out, just so that the record's clear, the county several years back did an adjustment of the value of a mill from what it was in 2003 to what it is currently. But we, again, believe the question having been put to the voters already twice before, it's appropriate for the question to be put to the voters again for what would be the third time in the last 25 years. But most importantly, for the first time in over 15 years now. And again, and I think Mr. Harris made an excellent point, just as an aside, for the average homeowner in the township, and I'm one as well, this would average out to, less than $2 a month to make sure that our volunteer firefighters have the necessary equipment, the necessary training, the necessary resources, and hopefully the necessary manpower to make sure that we're all safe in our homes and in our businesses here within the township.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. We got a lot of work to do, guys, so we'll get it done.
Just as a note, if you can't see from the public cameras, there must be 150 fire people here. And just 2,000 fire people here tonight. Thanks, guys. Thank you, girls, for being here. 50 million people out there.
Got the sense there's a lot of people when there was 10 fire trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that was easy. Now they have to do the sales pitch to the people. They shouldn't be going actually. Especially when they tell you $25 a year. It's like, come on. Right. Yeah. Well, my 2 ice cream with it. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Paizo, are there any
Yes, it looks like it.
changes to the agenda this evening?
There are, Mr. Polari, items 6 and 7 on this evening's advertised agenda, both of which pertain to applicant Ivy State Road Property LLC. I received an email from Tom Hecker, the attorney representing the applicant on those 2 items, asking that they be removed from this evening's agenda and tabled to a date certain of the council meeting of September 17. We had a meeting actually earlier today, which was a follow-up to a meeting from last week. They are going to be making some modifications to the plan and submitting it insofar as their access to State Road is concerned. So in order to give them time to make those changes and to have the township engineer and the township traffic engineer review them, they've asked that the 2 items be tabled to the September 17 meeting.
Okay, do we have a motion to move both 6 and 7 to September 17?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Mr. Paizo?
Item 9 on this evening's agenda, which is the preliminary and final land development for BSV Housing LP for their property on Mechanicsville Road. I believe in your packets is actually a copy of the letter that was received by the township by their attorney, again, Mr. Hecker, indicating that they are making some significant changes to the plan, and as a result, they are withdrawing the application that's currently pending before the township and will likely be resubmitting or submitting a new application sometime in the near future. So item 9 does not need to be tabled. The application has been withdrawn.
Okay, do we have anything else?
Number 10 on this evening's agenda, which is the rezoning question for the St. Catherine Drexel property. As council will recall, this is an item that the township initially brought forward while the sale of the property was first, or when the sale of the property was first announced. Since that time, the township administration has had some contact with the with the developer who currently has the property under agreement of sale to discuss the ordinance that the township was considering. Within the last several weeks, the township has received a proposed form of ordinance from the developer consistent with their proposed development of the property. It's currently under review by the township administration, and we'll have some feedback to them and to all of you as to what it is they're proposing when that review is completed. In the meantime, it would be the administration's suggestion that item 10 on the agenda be tabled to a date certain of your next meeting.
And Joe, just to clarify, you already said this, but the last time we did this, it gets reported misconstrued. This has nothing to do with the new developer asking for what we're going to vote on. This is something we're considering prior to the sale to protect us from some other kind of commercial use coming in.
The ordinance that has currently been advertised and is pending, yes, that's an ordinance that the township prepared that would have rezoned the property or will rezone the property if council votes on it from the current institutional zoning to R2 residential. What the developer is proposing is that since their proposed development of the property would be something of a mixed use that doesn't fall neatly or squarely into any of the current zoning districts that the township has on the books, that they would, they have submitted to the township a proposed amendment to our zoning ordinance that would create a new zoning district or overlay that could be applied to the St. Catherine Drexel property. And so the township is taking a look at that to see if that's something that the township is amenable to. The other aspect of all of this, and I haven't brought it up, but I perhaps in the past, but perhaps I should, is that as council will recall, as part of the lawsuit that was brought against the township by the group seeking to build the mosque on Humeville Road and the Department of Justice, the township entered into an agreement with the Department of Justice that would have us do a review of our current zoning to make sure that there's ample land available for for religious assembly groups to construct within the township. As part of that review, which the township is also engaged in at this time, it's probably not in the township's best interest to rezone a currently zoned piece of institutional property from an institutional zone until that process is completed and we've squared things up with the Department of Justice. So we probably should continue to leave this one on the back burner, if not the front burner, while those two sets of reviews are taking place at the same time.
I agree. That was going to be my next question. Why would we go through this process if there's a developer who may submit a different type of zoning for that specific property? So that you answered my question on that one, Joe. Then I agree.
Do we want to consider tabling it further down the road, or is the township going to be, are both of those avenues going to be resolved by the next meeting?
Yeah. Just push it once and it's done.
There we go. I'm looking at it red, thinking red is bad instead of red. At one point it was green, I swear. No, there may be some benefit to what you're suggesting, Mr. Sloan, but I don't think that it would be problematic if we were to table it perhaps into the month of October.
Just so we don't keep kicking it down the road a little bit at a time, give the township and the developer ample time to resolve these two paths, and then we can, vote on it when it's ready.
I don't think that would be a problem.
Joe, and keeping this alive, for lack of a better word, one of the reasons I think you said before, but I could be talking about something else, is that it protects us from something else coming in, or this, another deal sneaking in on us and putting a commercial, like saying all of a sudden they want a mall or something.
You're correct. There's absolutely no guarantee. I'm sorry.
It's in the process.
Yes, you're correct. There's absolutely no guarantee that the developer who currently has the property under agreement of sale, there's no guarantee that that entity will take the property to closing, and the property could be put back out on the open market for sale again at some point in the future. Similarly, there's no guarantee that what the developer who currently has the property under agreement, that the township is ultimately going to say, yes, we're 100% on board with what it is you've proposed. So for both of those reasons, it's to the township's benefit to continue to keep this fire, again, on the back burner, but albeit keep the flame on.
Why don't we move this to the second meeting in October, so that gives us plenty of time That'll give us almost 2 months. So do we have a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we table item 10 to the second meeting of October.
I'll second it.
okay, do we have any questions on the motion?
Say a date or?
It's October 23rd.
October 23rd.
22nd, October 22nd.
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 Better start wearing my glasses.
And then finally, it seems that the
We have
items
to-
coming
we
off
have to
the
vote- we have to
agenda...
vote on it, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any questions on the motion?
I want to make one statement before we do vote on it. It is our intention of changing the zoning of this. And that's what we're voting on. So it's clarified on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it 5-0. Mr. Pizzo?
Yes, I started to say, it seems that the items coming off the agenda are taking as much time perhaps as the items that will remain on the agenda. The last item is item 11, which is the ordinance for the Street Road Corridor Town Center Overlay District. I believe in all of your packets is the first pass at that ordinance. The ordinance, however, is in this ordinance is in a different form than the one that was originally advertised, and therefore is going to require it to go back to both the township and county planning commissions before you would have the ability to act on it. I believe some of you may be seeing it for the first time as part of this process, so we would also expect to receive some comment back from all of you prior to advertising. And so therefore, the administration would be suggesting that the item be tabled probably on a similar timetable as the rezoning of St. Catherine Drexel, maybe even a little longer since it has to go to both of those review boards. So looking out 60 days is probably a reasonable period of time.
Okay, which gives you enough time, first or second meeting in November? Is there a preference, since you guys are working on this?
November 13th will probably work, Mr. Polari.
Okay, do we have a motion to continue
I'll make a
to?
motion that we move the consideration of public hearing of the ordinance for the Street Road Corridor Town Center Overlay District to November 13th.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it 5-0. Anything else, Mr. Pizzo?
Mercifully, that's all, sir.
Okay.
That is a Tuesday, too, by the way, November 13th.
No.
That's correct.
Number 5 on the agenda, consideration of a preliminary and final land development plan, Bensalem Village Condominium Association, 1068 Byberry Road, single-family dwelling, zoning classification R3, tax parcel 2-94-56.
Mr. Polari, I would remind everyone that this matter was tabled from the council meeting of, I guess it was July 23rd. It was tabled at that time to the council meeting of August 13. The August 13 meeting having been canceled, the matter has carried forward to this meeting, and the public was duly noticed at the time of the August 13 cancellation of the August 13 meeting that any items due to be heard that night would be heard this evening. Also remind council that you did hear a full presentation from the developer on the proposed subdivision at the July 23rd council meeting. Therefore, it's certainly not incumbent upon the applicant to go through the full presentation again. An abbreviated presentation or a summary of what you told council last time should suffice and you should open the matter up to public comment again, Mr. Polari, before the council takes any action.
Sure. I'm Wes Playstead from Tri-State Engineers, representing the Bensalem Village Condominium Association. As was said, this has been on the docket before, and essentially what it is the condo association owns approximately 6.6 acres lot, which is the yellow and the green on the map up there. And what they're proposing is to subdivide 3 lots out of the front and leave the remaining approximately 5.8 acres, which will be dedicated to the township for open space. I know there was question on entrances and exits onto the different roads. You can see it's from the corner of Byberry down to Bensalem Boulevard. All of that will be open space at that point. Requesting basically 3 variances. One is to have the drawing scale of 1 inch to 50 foot, so they can get everything on one sheet. Second is to allow for the simultaneous submission of both the final and preliminary plans at this meeting. And the third one is to defer all required improvements and design of future improvements to the owner developer who may or may not ever buy that piece of property up there. The association only wishes to subdivide the property for the purpose of future sale, not to develop it. So whoever does come in and develop it will have to come before council with their development plans for that to be for approval. So
I don't think number 2 requires a waiver.
Pardon me?
I don't think number 2 requires a waiver. You can submit that as a preliminary and final,
Okay.
so.
Do we have any other questions from the board at this point?
My only question would be the 5.8 acres that you're dedicating to the township for open space. Just to clarify for people, that would remain open space for
In perpetuity.
perpetuity.
Yep.
That's a long time, I heard.
Very long. Longer than I'll be here.
I'm surprised you knew what that meant.
Just a little bit of housekeeping, Mr. Polari. As to the review letter from the township engineer, Ron Gans, dated March 8, 2018, I believe that it was discussed previously. Mr. Plaisted just mentioned the 3 items under Section D, which are waiver requests. To the extent that the council would be inclined to grant the waiver of number 3, that waiver should be granted subject to the placement of a note on the plan, acceptable in condition to the township engineer and the township solicitor, as to the future obligations of any developers for land development of those lots. And as to the 4 items under E, I believe Mr. Plaisted indicated at the last meeting that all 4 of those are will comply items. 3 of them are purely housekeeping in nature, and I believe the 4th is, again, a will comply. So the
That's
record
correct.
should reflect that as well.
How about number 2, Joe? D2.
D2? Well, the item has been listed as already as a preliminary and final land development, so I don't know necessarily that it requires action by the council at this time. Technically speaking, in some cases, the township has, in order to grant preliminary and final, depending on the complexity of the application, required developers in the past to post both the application fees for preliminary and final at the time that the approval is granted. In this case, since the developer, or not the developer, but the association is going to be donating these 6 acres, almost 6 acres, shown in green above, to the township for $1, the township administration felt it appropriate not to charge both preliminary and final fees for this plan, particularly in as much as it's a pretty simple 3-lot subdivision. So it would probably be appropriate to include the item 2 in this instance, Mr. Mr. Kisselbeck.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one more thing, because I wasn't here, I was on vacation last meeting, so. But, so it will be subdivided into the 3 lots plus the lot that you're donating?
Correct.
Okay. But then it's up to the potential or future purchaser of the 3 lots to actually come in and say, I want to put a house on this one, or a house on that one, or a house on that one.
Right, and
Whatever they want to do would be their responsibility.
Right,
But
correct.
the 3 physical lots will be there.
That's correct.
Okay.
One of the things that concerned me last month when we met was the size of the lots. The only question I have at this time is there any consideration to extending these 3 lots where it could be potentially developed back slightly to be in line with the neighboring properties, to be consistent with that corridor? Not all the way back as the ones further down the road are, but just back a little bit to be in line with the other properties.
I mean, it would reduce the open space being dedicated to the township. but,
I understand.
Yeah, well, that's.
I'm just trying to ask the question of what the thought process was there.
I mean, the lots as they're proposed now do exceed in square footage the minimum requirement for this zoning.
Yeah, because if you have it's 91.93 by 131, the lots, that's big enough to build any size house. So
Yeah.
Yes.
why give and most people don't, there's not a lot of value in having too much of a deep backyard, you know what I mean? So I'd rather have the land donated to the township as open space. It gives us more buffer. It gives us more buffer, you know, and it's more ground that the township will own and be able to buffer. And you know, you can see it on a map that they're not even, but in physicality, you're not really going to be able to tell they're different sizes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see the aesthetic reason for looking at that and saying, I'm assuming you mean the building on the right, the
Yeah,
building
behind
on
the-
the right,
behind
not the
the
one on
three.
the left.
Yeah,
No,
and
behind the
I know
3.
we've addressed other
Not the one on the
zoning
left.
issues in a similar way of trying to keep these corridors in line with each other.
But
Curious why we wouldn't do it here.
each lot's more square footage than is required for our biggest residential zoning.
Yes.
So they don't have to take, we can have more property for free, so to me, it's,
Well,
I would
is
just keep it.
that 4 foot? I mean, how much is that? 4
no,
foot?
that's more
That's
than
what
4
I'm
foot, that's 40 feet,
No, it's not 40
15,
feet.
well, it's not 4.
Yeah, maybe 15, 10 or 15 more feet.
15,
Six.
10 foot?
From where the 3 are back to the rough line between the ones on the right and left.
I'm talking about the one on the right. I'm talking about only the one on the right, which would square it off to that one, not the one on the left.
I mean, it's significant. It looks like it's about 70 feet.
Yeah, all 3, it would be.
Back to the corner? Am I reading that wrong?
Yeah, I'm reading
No,
it wrong.
40
It
feet.
says
Sorry, 40 feet.
It says 40 feet, that's what it says on there.
Yeah.
It says 40 feet on the one side, and it says, I think it says 64 on the other side, but I'm not an engineer, but I mean, that's a lot of
Yes.
ground.
No, it's not. 40 foot.
If this is what the people of the development want, I
That's what
don't
they
see
want. I
why
think
we
we just let it go.
would want to change it.
That's all right. That's my
No,
opinion.
but it's a good thing.
Quarter acre is the size of the lot required, and these are slightly over quarter acre.
But 12,000 total square feet is more than we need to build a single home in Bensalem.
Yes.
Yeah, even R1 or R2.
Jesse, you have any other questions?
No, that was it.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, just one. Mr. Pizzo, was there any action taken on the letter from the Environmental Advisory Board that was dated June, can't really tell if this is 19 or 9, about the environmental assessment, and will that be completed once this has been finalized this evening?
I don't know that the township administration has made any decision yet as to the merits or need of an environmental assessment of the property. Obviously, at this point in time, we know it to be wooded open space. We know there to be some wetlands back there. Bensalem Village is dedicating it to the township. The township will add it to the current roll of over 1,300 acres of open space we have in the township. And that I don't believe there are any plans to do anything with that land other than leave it wooded. So whether you know, there's value in having an assessment performed and having that expense. I don't think the township's gotten quite that far into the weeds, if you will, with this particular piece of ground.
Is that wetlands back there?
There are some wetlands in the middle of the property back there.
Down in there.
Down there, okay.
There were no wetlands found up where these are.
Yes,
It's all
the-
basically down in this area here.
Okay.
Yeah, the property all slopes from the front to the back.
Behind the doctor's office.
Yeah. Behind Dr. Kepko's office there.
So that area is not really developable anyway? So it's
Well,
Parts
yes
of
and no.
most-
There's-
not without severe remediation?
There's always a way. There's enough of those other 5 acres that somebody, the proper investor could probably do something.
Yeah.
I think it's out of it, the lots adjacent to Byberry and the lots that go out to Bensalem Boulevard on the other side.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this?
Good evening. My name's Howard Solomon, Bensalem Village Association Board President. Just want to make you aware that we do have a tentative agreement of sale, contingent on approval tonight and approval of 80% of the unit owners in Bensalem Village Association. The buyer is an adjacent property owner, Ken Freeheat, right? And I think you said your intentions were, for the time being, to do nothing with it, to leave it as open space, to incorporate that property into his space. So just wanted to make you aware of that, if that has any effect on your decision tonight.
I appreciate you informing us about that and moving forward as the association going down that path. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And that is good news. I don't think we had that news at the last meeting.
No.
So, yeah, great.
I believe that's why we took the time, so you guys can go back and talk about it, and it's a win-win for everybody, so. Anyone else like to come forward?
Well, I have a question.
Public comment is closed.
I have a comment.
Do we
I don't have a question
Do we have any
before
other
you-
questions from the board at this time?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Let
Joe,
me get to that point.
Okay, I'm sorry. If that's the case, are we going to continue to subdivide this into 3 lots? Well, my question is, the proposal you had made to us is 3 lots. Is this gentleman buying this as 3 lots and saying to you, I'm not going to do anything with it, because once we approve it as 3 lots, he can indeed put 3 homes there?
He wants the option to do it in
He
the
wants
future,
the
I
option
would
if
think.
he would have to come before.
So it's not like it's...
The township.
It's over-excitement to say that he's going to, for now, he's going to
For
keep
now.
it for open space, but he's not going to pay anywhere near market value for it if he can't have the option to put houses on it in the future. It's worth a lot less as open space for him than it would be 3 lots. So, I mean, it's good to hear that the person wants to use it for his lots, but eventually he's going to put houses on there.
That would be my
Yeah.
assessment, too.
So it's not like it's going to be open space forever.
Right, so we're approving
What's that big
as
word again,
presented.
intuity or?
Perpetuity.
Perpetuity, right. It's not going to be in perpetuity, it's going to be till he feels like he wants to build a house there. Which is fine, that's his right to do.
Do we have any other questions to the board? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll put a motion on the floor, Mr. President, that we approve the preliminary and final land, I guess it would be
Minor subdivision.
subdivision for Bensalem Village Condominium Association, which is tax map parcel at this time 02-094-560. And it would be contingent upon the memorandum from O'Donnell Nacarado, the date of May 9th, 2018. And within that, the applicant would adhere to A, B, C, and as D, we would grant a waiver for 1, 2, and 3. There would be a note made on D3 that our engineer and solicitor would approve the development at the time that they would come before us. And also, letter E, miscellaneous, would also be in place.
Mr. Kitzelback, before Mr. Polari calls for a second, one other condition, that deeds for what would now be 4 lots would be submitted to the township, reviewed by the township engineer and township solicitor, and would be recorded contemporaneous with the recording of the record plan for this subdivision.
All right, so the deeds would be recorded appropriately as expressed by our solicitor, and that would be the motion.
Okay, do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, good job.
Okay, number 8 on the agenda. Consideration of a minor land development plan, the applicant Corman Commercial Properties Incorporated, location 2577 Interplex Drive, proposed use parking lot, classification PCD-UD, tax parcel 2-1-2-5.
Good evening. My name is Michael Landis. I'm here on behalf of Corman Commercial Properties. With me this evening is Kevin McCartney from Bowler Engineering, Arnold Lurie, the Director of Operations for Corman, and Allison Corman. The first thing I'd like to do is to enter into the record as Exhibit A1 the notice certification that's required by Township Code. I had emailed a copy to Ed Rudolph earlier in the day. I don't know if it made its way to Mr. Pizzo. So I'd like to offer that into the record as Exhibit A1.
Sir, you can give them to the solicitor.
All right. I have a couple other documents I'd like to just go through real quickly,
Okay.
so I could hand them all up at the same time. On August 2nd, 2018, we appeared before the Zoning Hearing Board and were granted the necessary zoning relief for the work that brings us here this evening. I'd like to offer up the Zoning Hearing Board decision as Exhibit A2. The plans were reviewed by the Bucks County Conservation District and were determined to be adequate. I would like to hand up that review letter as Exhibit A3. The plans were also reviewed by Mr. Gans, a township engineer. I'll let him speak to that, but it was basically without issue. I'd like to hand up that review letter as Exhibit A4. And then just recently, the fire marshal reviewed the plans and the circulation pattern and found them to be adequate as well. I'd like to have that letter marked as Exhibit A5. And the last document I have is the curriculum vitae or resume of Mr. McCartney, which I'd like to mark as Exhibit A6. I'll hand these documents to Mr. Pizzo. So this is the first time this matter has been before council. It's a minor land development application. You see the plan up there. If I could just orient you briefly, those 3 buildings are in the back right corner of the old section of the Neshaminy Interplex, which would be behind Faulkner Toyota if you're standing on the boulevard looking in that direction. In front and to the left of that are buildings 1 through 4, which are the older buildings. To the left of that is the Radisson Hotel, and then the newer buildings in the Neshaminy Interplex are on the other side towards where the Wawa is. So this is kind of the back right corner of the Interplex. And what you see are the existing conditions. And what we're proposing to do with this application is to improve those existing conditions because In order for trucks to get access to Building C in the back, they have to take this circuitous route through the parking area. And the proposed plan, which I will ask Kevin, since he's a technical whiz here, this is the proposed plan, just to give you an overview. By creating that additional entrance there between the buildings, trucks can get back to Building C much more safely. They do not have to do a circuitous route. There's no change whatsoever to any of the buildings, no change whatsoever to any of the building setbacks, no changes to any of the buffer areas. By creating that access lane, they're actually creating some additional parking spaces, and there's a very, very slight reduction in impervious surface. So that is basically what we're here requesting council approval of, and I have two witnesses. I promise I'll be very brief. I have Kevin McCartney, the engineer who prepared the plans, and I have Arnold Lurie, the Director of Operations of Corman Commercial Properties, who will tell you why they want to do this work.
Okay, can we have them both sworn, please?
Yes.
You can do them together.
All right. Should I administer the oath then?
No, we'll take care
All
of
right,
it.
okay, fine.
Would you hand me, please? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God, you do so, sorry.
Okay,
Give
first,
your name and information to the court stenographer, please.
Kevin McCartney with Bowler Engineering.
okay, Kevin,
Excuse me. We need your other person to give who they are.
you want to state your, I was going to have them do separately, but go ahead.
Arnold Lurie, L-U-R-I-E, Director of Operations for Corman Commercial Properties.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Kevin, you're employed with Bowler Engineering, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Let me let you get closer to the microphone here. Let me show you what was marked as Exhibit A6. Is this a true and correct copy of your curriculum vitae or your resume?
Yes, it is.
And does it fairly and accurately summarize your professional education and experience?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and,
Mr. Landis?
Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Mr. McCartney will be accepted as an expert, as being proffered.
thank you. Thank you very much for speeding things along. All right, Mr. McCartney, would you briefly describe to council the scope of the proposed work?
Absolutely. So as Mr. Landis has gone through already, the primary purpose of this land development application is to provide secondary access or primary access for the trucks that currently would like to go to the loading dock of Building C. On the plan that we previously looked at, there was no direct access, and the trucks had to circuitously move through the site in order to do the loading and unloading operations at Building C. So with the proposed improvements, we're opening up that main access so the trucks have a direct line to the loading dock area in the rear. And in doing so, we reconfigured some of the parking fields around Building A and in front of Building C, again, to increase the parking on the site and to separate the vehicular traffic from the truck traffic going to Building C.
Okay, Mr. McCartney, are there any changes to any of the existing buildings?
No, there are not.
Any changes to the existing building setbacks?
No.
Any changes to any of the buffers?
No.
And in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of certainty, will the proposed work improve the overall vehicular circulation?
Yes, it will.
Will it improve the parking layout?
Yes.
Will it improve truck access and circulation of trucks on the site?
Yes, it will.
Will it improve pedestrian and vehicular safety?
Yes.
And will it have any detrimental effect on any other property in the area?
No, it will not.
All right. That's all I had for Mr. McCartney. I don't know if council has
Do we
any
have
questions.
for the witness?
Yeah, I have several questions.
For this witness?
For the engineering plan, yes.
Okay. For this witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I guess my first question is the volume of truck traffic that's going in and out of there? Can you give me an
That might
idea?
be a question for Mr. Lurie.
Okay, so then I'll go to the engineering plan then. My first question, the parking that you have in the yellow highlighted, can you point to that? There you go.
Right
Is
here?
there a stop sign there?
There are stop bars proposed in these two locations.
And you feel that that parking there is safe based on the truck traffic that you're going to now generate into the new proposed drive-through?
Yes, I do. The people
And
that
in
are,
addition to the fact that there's going to be cars that are actually stopping there at that stop sign, and you have people parked, and then people are going to be backing out of those parking spaces where there's someone that's going to be stopped at that stop sign?
yes, the amount of truck traffic throughout the day, and Mr. Lurie will speak to this in a minute.
That's why I went there. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
I wanted to get an understanding as far as how much truck traffic we have. My next question is, if you're going to put in the new drive-through there, I'm calling it, what is the value of keeping the current one that's already there?
Since there are 3 buildings on this one property, each building will now have its own more direct access point to the Interplex Drive, which is the street to the south of the property line right here. So again, it's kind of separating out the vehicular traffic rather than driving through the parking fields in order to exit the site.
Can you tell me the distance between the edge of the new proposed drive and the current one?
This distance here,
Yes.
I can approximate it to be about 75 feet.
And do you feel that there's a safety issue with vehicles that are going to be coming out of the current drive, as well as a truck that may be coming out of the new proposed one? Let's just say the truck is making a left. You have a vehicle that's coming out of the current one making a right. Do you foresee any potential issues?
No, I do not.
And my next question would be, did you look at the possibility of moving the current drive, understanding the reason why you want to keep a separate drive? Did you consider actually moving and creating a separate, closing the one off that's the current one that's there at the south side, and then moving that down further down Interplex Drive?
You mean the middle one?
This the end one, the south one, bringing that down. I'm just concerned 75 feet. I'm not crazy about the 2 drives being so close in proximity right there at the bend there. That's my concern.
Unfortunately, the property ends right here, so there
Oh, is that
isn't
your
a lot
property
of-
line? I
Yeah.
see, okay. So Corman doesn't own that additional property that's borders Building A?
I'm not sure who owns it.
I think that's owned by a different affiliate of Corman. And I believe that may be vacant land.
It is?
Yeah.
But does Corman own that property?
A Corman affiliate owns the property.
Okay.
You know, there are lots of different entities with lots of different ownership structures, and to say this is Corman and that's Corman sometimes isn't a real easy transition.
Could
To
you
be
speak
quite
into
honest.
the microphone so people around
Yeah.
can hear you?
Yeah.
All right, I think that wraps up my engineering questions, and then I'd like to know about the truck traffic.
Okay.
Thank
Do
you.
we have any other questions for this witness? You can go to your next
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Lurie, what's your position with Corman?
Director of Operations.
And in that position, are you familiar with these properties, the tenants that are in there, the extent and volume of truck traffic and other traffic to the properties?
I am.
Would you address council's concerns as expressed in the questions we heard?
So excluding excluding the 2 trucks owned by the tenant, I would say between 12 and 14 trailers are in and out of that property each day.
And is that the same traffic that has been in and out of that property for approximately how long?
That tenant's been there well before my tenure, so 20-plus years.
Okay, so are you anticipating an increase in truck traffic as part of this?
We are not.
All right, and so why are you asking council to approve this minor land development as we've described?
The issue is that the tractors or the trailers actually are getting larger, and most of them coming in now are 53 feet. and it's increasingly difficult for them to kind of weave their way into the loading dock under the current layout.
Okay. Yeah, and on that point, with the trucks getting larger that you noted, I mean, I do have concern, and only because we have a daycare there in Building B, and that area that's shaded is fenced off. And I believe that's an outside area for the daycare too as well. And how close are the trucks having to pull up to that area before they back into the dock at Building C?
They're not that close. I couldn't give you an exact measurement, but they're not that close.
The engineer be able to answer that.
Correct, and that area is also lined with bollards for protection of that area, that outdoor play area for the
Oh, does that
daycare.
boulders there outside?
Yeah, there are
Is that what
existing
those
bollards
dots
that line
are?
the entire length of that play area.
Okay.
That's a fenced area, it's not an
It's
open
a
play area?
fenced area.
Yeah, it's just a chain link fence.
What type of business is in Building C?
The tenant is Polymer Shapes, and their primary product is sheet plastic.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for this witness? We'll get the public portion.
So I have no other witnesses and no other evidence. I would just ask that the documents be introduced into the record.
Is everything in order?
Yes, everything appears to be in order, so exhibits A1 through A6 can be made a part of the record. Together with the application received by the township and the full set of plans, which I believe is an 8-sheet plan set prepared by Bowler Engineering, and it is dated June 25th, 2018, with no revisions.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this project, minor land development? Please come forward.
I just have a few questions for the council. and for you guys.
The questions are directed to us, and we'll get the answers for you, please.
My name is Joseph Flores. My wife and I live at 2535 K Avenue, which sits directly behind Building B. One of the main purposes I'm here is because of that safety issue for children that are in there. In the same sentence, you said that trucking traffic was not going to be increased. You also said the trailers got bigger. So it is increasing. Now, what I'm concerned about is this access allows for larger trucks now. Is that correct?
Questions are here,
I'm
not
sorry.
to them.
Is this access allow for larger trucks? And if so, how can if the tenant's not here telling us that, yes, their increase in business has increased, why wouldn't their trucker increase? The other part of that is we live right behind there, so we always see the trucks come in and out. They come in hot, very fast. It's not calculated. What I am concerned about is that playground in the gray area and in the backside. My son goes to that daycare too. So it's hitting home, not only for me, but for anybody else that's on the backside of Trevos that sits within that facility. What we're concerned about is, does this allow for, A, more traffic to come in, this future business pickup, this allows that traffic to do, and is this something that's just being pitched right now as easier access for a truck? Down the line, is this going to be something that's going to cause our neighborhood more stress? Not to mention, Old Lincoln Highway is beat up enough. We have constant problems with potholes and everything else there. More trucking traffic means that corridor is going to be used a lot more. So we've had some problems within our neighborhood in Lincolnia with the new development behind it. We have traffic coming through our neighborhood on dead-end streets. I've tried getting stop signs. I've been told that it's not a necessity, especially on K Avenue. We're one of the only streets that does not have a stop sign in there. So it's becoming more and more unsafe. This, I'm having an issue with simply because of that. I kind of like to know that stuff prior to this happening.
Okay, thank you. We'll have the gentleman answer the questions for you.
Okay. Mr. Lurie? Yes. A couple things. Have you gotten any complaints from, now in Building B, that's just children, that's the
That is-
child care place?
That is correct.
Have you received any complaints from just children about truck traffic?
We have not.
How about the tenant of Building C, which is the tenant that has the truck traffic that we're trying to make a little bit more safe so that they're not weaving in and out of the parking lot? Has that tenant given you any indication that the truck traffic is going to be increasing at this location?
They have not.
And do you want to address the gentleman's general comments at all, or?
Yeah, I think regardless of the prior layout or this layout, I don't think either one would limit the truck traffic either way, up or down. I just think it makes it safer in, safer out.
And are there any changes to the back, the buffer area between where this activity is going on and where the gentleman's living?
There are not.
So whatever's there is going to remain there?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have one question for the engineer.
Sure.
For the engineer, can I have a question for the engineer? Sure. Okay, so if it's already has truck delivery for 15, 20 years, 10, 15, 20 years, so trucks are going to continue. What specifically makes it safer for trucks to get back there now than its present configuration?
Sure. So in the existing conditions of the site, the trucks are currently using this access
Okay, because the other
down
ones
here.
kind of they seem closer together. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Oh, they're using
So,
that.
yeah, the trucks will pull in here and then
there.
turn through this parking field around here, pull in facing the front of the daycare, or the play area of the daycare, and then back into the loading dock that's right here. And then on the exit maneuver, they pull out, swing out this way, again, and follow their.
Yeah, so it's like a
back to-
weaving thing.
Exactly,
So
they're weaving in and out.
Show us the new one again and what they're going to do.
In the new configuration, the trucks will come in more of a direct line, do the same back-end maneuver, and then pull straight out. So it's a straight in and out maneuver through the parking area.
And you feel that's safer than the present configuration?
I do, yes.
Can I, sir,
The present configuration right now.
Could you come up and speak into the microphone,
I'm
please?
sorry, I have a deep voice, and I've done this for years. The present configuration right now actually has them slow coming in and coming around to navigate the parking lot.
Right.
That straight access has them coming straight off the main road through the Interplex into the parking lot. Common sense would state that a slow turn into a parking lot is a lot safer than a straight direct route into a parking lot.
Right.
I don't know how the outside of that is.
I can speak to that too. There is, what you don't necessarily see on these plans is a third dimension. So the elevation from the Yosemite Interplex Drive Road into that parking field, it will be pretty steep where the trucks will have to slow down in order to go up that ramping and into that parking area. So again, a truck going even 15 miles an hour is going to really have a hard time going up that ramp before it gets into the parking lot.
And would you say that it's for truck traffic of this sort, when negotiating a parking area where there could be pedestrians walking to and from cars or to and from buildings, or cars parked in spaces that may be going into spaces or out of spaces, would you say it's safer to have a direct line to where the truck is going, or is it safer for the truck to have to negotiate several turns in order to get to where it's going?
You're correct, yes. It's much safer for the pedestrians as well as the truck driver as he's been navigating through to know that there's a clear path in one direction and not have to look around as they're turning the wheel and making all those circuitous turns into the rear loading area.
Can you show the new plan again, please? Is there any consideration to alleviate some of these concerns, to put in pedestrian crosswalks near that new entrance?
We can certainly do that.
I think maybe that would kind of force the issue of slowing down, especially with an elevation change like that. I'd be concerned of visibility issues.
Okay. That's fine. no objection to that.
Okay. Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward? He didn't say it.
Can I ask him?
No, wait until we're done. It doesn't matter. What does that matter? It really doesn't matter, but you can ask me if you want, but you're just opening up a...
I live right in the back of where the building
Put
is.
your name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me?
Your name and address
Oh,
for the record.
it's Stella Palmer, 2557 K Avenue. I'm concerned about the time that the trucks will be in and out and the noise level that they're going to generate.
Okay. We'll get you the answer to that question.
Noise level, the big size of the trucks.
Okay, so do you have an answer to that question? Well, answer, please.
To the best of my knowledge, that tenant operates between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay.
And have you gotten any complaints from any of the residents about noise levels back there?
I have not.
And would you expect the noise levels to change at all?
I would not.
So this is, correct me if I'm wrong, what we're trying to do is accommodate an existing situation as opposed to create a situation that allows additional truck traffic or additional noise or additional issues like that.
That would be correct.
Ma'am, did you have something else? I see you're still there. Did you have something else that you want?
No, that was my main concern, so I've been bringing it back. I think that if the trucks are going to be larger and they're going to be coming in more often, it's going to create a noise level, but he said it would be from, what, 8 to 6?
8 to 6.
8 to 6. I think they said over the years, correct me if I'm wrong, the trucks have already gotten larger. They're not going to get larger because of this. This is, they're over the years, they're 53 feet now. And so it's even more imperative to accommodate a bigger, trucks are already driving through there are 53 feet.
But will it be more trucks than it is
Well,
now?
they're saying no. So, they're saying no.
You want to speak to that one more time?
Yeah, this new configuration, it doesn't do anything to make more or less trucking onto, that's really determined by the level of the tenant's business, not by this configuration.
Here's a question for you as an operations manager for, I worked in the village back 3 years ago. But if you had a tenant who, because it's private property, so but if you had a tenant who was, having trucks come in at all hours or getting large trucks or
That would not go on.
letting trucks speed in the
No.
parking lot, that Corman corporations would put an end to it.
We would be all over that, yes.
So regardless of whether we approve this new entrance or not, there's not going to be any change of activity whatsoever, is that that's
The
correct?
activity, again, will be driven by the tenant's level of business.
Are you changing the tenant in Building C, the one who's getting the truck traffic?
We are not.
That's polymer shapes? They've been there for how long?
20-plus years. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening again. Tony Stallworth, 2452 Lincoln Avenue. I presently live in the neighborhood, obviously, about 2 blocks from that location, Lincoln Avenue. For years, we've been having truck traffic, as these gentlemen had mentioned, in the front. We can also hear noises back there for us idling trucks, noises of materials, I guess, being lifted in and out of the trucks, I should say. I'm trying to figure out if Corman, I know there's differences of, I guess, land over there, back there with the property owners. My concern is there's neighbors here with me tonight. I came out also to air some of their complaints. We've had, we got the kids' daycare back there. I know there's fencing areas back there. I know there's somewhat of a buffer back there. But I still believe there's going to be more trucks. I personally don't believe these owners back there that it's just going to be limited truck traffic. Obviously, everybody knows, everybody that works and the businesses back there know about the increased truck traffic that's on Old Lincoln Highway. And I'm afraid that some of those trucks, the smell of the diesel fuel, all that kind of stuff, we may even have vagrants back there when they're, first of all, is there going to be trucks parked? That's my other question I got here. Is there going to be trucks just back there parked overnight, like waiting for an appointment to go into those buildings? I'm asking, I know I have to, can't talk to them directly.
From what everything that's been testified to this point, the new entrance is putting in to accommodate the trucks that are there, not bring more trucks. And it's not being planned for more trucks, but it's more so for the safety of the people that are going through because of how they have to weave through the shop, through the area.
Oh, I realize that. You're talking about the parallel parking areas over there, sure.
Looking to put something that would bring, from what I've heard, bring more trucks there. Is it possible that more trucks come as their business expands? I would imagine that would be what would be possible. But we'll ask that question of the gentleman.
Okay, I'm asking you to consider that. Also, one more thing, maybe some kind of protective buffers like trees or something. Could that go along that property line back there? Maybe just to satisfy the residents back there. Signage that there's going to be trucks. Just some ideas. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a common sense resident. Okay. Would that be considered? Okay, I'll be watching. Thank you.
Let me see if I can have Mr. Lurie address a couple of those things. First of all, is this the first you've heard about idling being an issue?
That is correct.
Would you be willing to put up some no idling signs?
Absolutely.
And seek to enforce them to the best that you can?
Absolutely.
And how about trucks overnight?
The only truck parking we permit overnight is the tenant owns and operates one 24-foot straight truck. That is the only permitted overnight parking. No, it's just parked in the dock.
That's the tenant's truck.
Right, tenant owned and operated.
How about, have you considered buffering back there to make it easier?
We haven't, but we certainly could consider that.
Well, can you do it, or, how big's the ground, the engineer would have answers, I guess. Is there enough ground permitted to put shrubbery in?
Yes.
Yes.
And, would you be willing to do that?
I think we would, yes.
Yes.
Okay. We'll make that as a condition to the crosswalk.
Thank you. We have another witness behind you.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Gasland. I live at 2503 K Avenue. I'm actually right behind the daycares, and yes, they're fenced in. Unfortunately, though, I'm not sure that a truck, if it doesn't have any brakes, would be stopped by that fence. But that's neither here nor there. I've heard in here several points. One was that the traffic, that the operations manager, he believes that the traffic will not increase, but he has not told us that it will not increase. It's just a simple belief, that's one. And my second point is that he has received no complaints. I had to call the property once about a dead tree on the backyard. I kept calling and calling. There's no one there to actually receive any complaints or any information from someone else. So that no complaints, to me, it just sounds, pardon my expression, my French in here, but bull droppings. So that's just my opinion in there. Do they have something that records the complaints? Is there something that, where would someone call to actually get in touch with with someone to, I guess, just hash things out? So, I can go to my neighbor and say, hey, there's this tree here, there's this problem here. Do you think we can come together? There's no such thing at this point in here, so that no complaints just goes out the window for me. So that was my question. If we could get a couple of answers in here, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, So let me see if I can address that. Mr. McCartney, would you point out again the bollards and what function they serve?
They're hard to see at this scale, but there's a line of dots you see running up the screen right there. Those are all bollards.
And what is a bollard?
Typically, it's a 6-inch steel pipe, or it could be made of other materials, but it's encased in the ground with at least 3 or 4 feet of concrete below to prevent vehicles from being able to run through them.
Okay. And Mr. Lurie, can I ask you a couple questions? So you're with Corman Commercial Properties, correct?
Correct.
Is there an on-site management office?
There is.
In Building
2.
Building 2 on the 3rd floor, and it's open from when to when?
It is open from 9 to 5 every day.
And is there always somebody in the office?
There is.
And are there signs, I'm not going to say throughout the Interplex, but are there some signs in the Interplex that would direct someone looking for management, where they would go to find management?
There are.
All right, and you're the Director of Operations. What's your phone number if somebody has an issue and they want to?
215-244-5145.
Okay, great, thank you.
Is there any other questions from anyone in the audience? Seeing no one come forward, public comment is now closed. Is there any other questions from the board for any of the witnesses?
I just want to recap, make sure we've got all this down. So you're amenable to putting in pedestrian crosswalks, no idling signs, and adding a buffer on that back side, some kind of shrubbery
Yes,
to the neighbors back there.
Yes. Where exactly were you looking to, just so there's no confusion, put in a crosswalk?
Well, I'm wondering with the new entrance.
Right there.
Yeah.
At the new entrance?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the shrubbery would basically be behind Building C up to Building B, I would guess.
Yeah, along the whole back,
Yeah.
That's
back
correct.
line.
Yeah.
It looks like there are a couple trees
Couple,
there.
but not much.
And there's a fence there now, I believe.
There are several fences that belong to the residents behind the property.
But that would be a good improvement, some shrubbery.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mr. Mayor, to address some of the comments made, can we have our traffic safety officer go over to Lincoln and take a look and see where we might need stop signs and things of that nature?
Absolutely.
If there's an issue there, can we please send them out
Yeah.
and report back to council?
Report it to them tomorrow, whatever council desires.
Thank you. And do we have more questions for any of the witnesses?
Just 2 more questions I have, one for the witness. What prevents trucks from entering into that southbound entrance there?
I'm sorry, which entrance are you talking about?
The current one, the existing one?
This one?
Yep.
That they're going in now, do they continue to do that, or are they going to stop?
They could, but to be honest with you, I don't think the trucks that are making deliveries back here will be able to make these turns with the new, and that was part of the reconfiguration of this island here was.
But they may not realize that until they turn in there, though, correct?
Correct, and we can post a sign for this entrance for truck deliveries.
Truck
to
traffic only.
Use that. Yeah.
Now, what about like a standard box truck like FedEx, UPS?
Yeah, they have to go.
They would all-
FedEx, UPS, since there are other businesses operating on the site, they will be able to maneuver through.
They're smaller, so they'll be able to
They're
maneuver
smaller,
around.
correct.
But any tractor trailers will have to go through the new entrance.
Yeah,
Yes, tractor trailers will be there.
Okay.
That's good to have a sign.
And then I have one question for Mr. Paido. I'm assuming notice was provided to those on K Avenue. I'm assuming notice was also required to those tenants in both Building A and Building B?
Mr. Landis may know the answer faster than me, but it appears that there are several properties along Interplex Drive, which is the main road that goes through the property, that were given notice. The majority of the properties are properties located on K Avenue, and I assume the cemetery that operates King David was also included as well.
So no notice to those
I'm sorry,
that...
Roosevelt, yes.
So just to confirm, no notice was provided to those in Building A or Building B?
I don't think you said that.
I can answer
that's
that.
not-
I gave the notice. The answer is no. The code,
They're tenants of Corman, right? So
yeah,
I realize that, but if they were provided notice, then so,
it's not required.
okay, that's fine. That's all I wanted to know. Yeah.
I'll defer to Mr. Pizzo on that. He's your solicitor, but my understanding is notice goes to the adjoining property owners.
That's correct.
Okay, do we have any other questions? If there's no other questions, then a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we approve as amended with the addition of pedestrian crosswalks, no idling signs, shrubbery on the back line of the lot, and sign to limit large truck traffic to the new entrance only.
Yeah, he said the trees, right.
So
Could you put on it?
Verify where the, like you said, crosswalk, plural. So you want to say?
Pedestrian crosswalk at the new entrance location.
As I understand, at the new entrance.
Yes. Yeah.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Before I'll make a second, but I want to ask,
Any questions on the motion?
I do have a question. That's, can you make your motion to appear that it would be approved, the shrubberies by our township engineer, as well as the traffic by our traffic engineer?
Yes, I will amend my motion to reflect
And
that.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any other questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Ayes have it, 4-1.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and consideration.
How you doing? Building. I was building 2, suite 107. Long time. That's a big dent just for that. It's a big piece of paper, isn't it?
Okay, number 12 on the agenda, consideration and public hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 229, Vehicles for Hire, Section 27, Duties and Licensees. Mr. Pizzo, you handle that one, please?
Sure. Earlier this evening, you heard from the volunteer fire companies in the township that they hadn't had an increase in the dedicated fire tax in the township for a number of years, over 15. The ordinance that's before you for vehicles for hire, duties of licenses, have to do with the duty towers who serve the township. The last increase in the fees that they charge was in January of 2010. They have collectively come to the township director of public safety and asked that the council consider an increase in the various fees that they charge when serving as a duty tow for the township. The increases are set forth in Section D of the ordinance. The current fees, so that council has the numbers to compare. The current wrecker flatbed fee is $125, and they're asking that be increased to $150. The heavy-duty wreckers are $225 currently. That would be an increase to $240, an increase of $15. Storage of vehicles currently is $35 per day outside storage. They're asking that to be increased $10 to $45, and $55 per day inside storage, which would be an increase of $10 from the current rate of $45. The 25-day and 35, the item 4, those storage fees would remain unchanged. And in all other respects, the ordinance would not change anything regarding the obligations, responsibilities, liabilities, or the like of the towers serving the township, nor anything regarding the licensing of those companies and individuals serving the township. So the Director of Public Safety and the administration are recommending this ordinance, and it is in a form acceptable for your consideration this evening.
Do we have any questions from the board?
I do. On the number 1, Roman numeral 3 and 4, is the difference between the fees in that number 3 is being stored at the Bensalem Township Municipal Facility versus the number 4 being stored at a business? Storage, $45 per day outside storage, number 3. Number 4, storage, $25 per day outside storage.
Yeah, well, what's the difference between 3 and 4? That was my question too,
Yeah,
Liz. Thank
exactly.
you.
Excuse me 1 second, and I'll ask Ms. Gallagher.
Whether it's stored outside or inside?
No, both of them have outside and inside.
No, one says inside.
45 per outside, 55 per inside.
Inside, right.
But what about this one? 50 outside, 30 inside. What's the difference between 3 and 4?
Guys here.
There's probably an explanation behind it.
All right, well, who can answer it then? Somebody's here can answer it, did you say?
Steve, do you want to comment on that? I don't know if you have it in front of you, what they're talking about. I don't.
Well, number 3 reads storage, $45 per day outside storage, $55 per day inside storage. It says these rates will also apply to vehicles stored at Bensalem Township municipal facilities. And then number 4 says storage, $25 per day outside storage, $30 per day inside storage. So there's 2 different prices, and the description is fairly close.
I do not believe that the township charges storage, so the $50 a day that you're talking about versus the 45, township doesn't charge storage fees when we pull cars over to the township building.
Yeah, but do you know what the difference between number 3, which says, forget about whether the township charges or not. Number 3 says 45 per day outside storage, 55 per day inside storage.
Is that at a business?
Number 4 says 55 per day $25, which is $20 less, and $30, which is 20. What's the difference between 3 and 4, do you know?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay, so I can't either, so.
And we did the ordinance, is there?
Who wrote it?
Is there a
Don't you know
reason
what the difference
for
is?
the 2 separate?
I can only speculate as the difference. The ordinance has been on the books for several years. I know that some municipalities distinguish between light-duty storage fees and heavy-duty storage fees, but that does not appear to be in this ordinance.
We need to check that, because if there's an issue here, is there legal ramifications if it's not spelled out?
That's probably it, but it's not clear.
You're
Heavy-duty
correct,
or
it's not.
light-duty?
And again, that's just
Heavy-duty and
my
light-duty up
speculation
top.
on that. Now,
Steve Davidson.
Steve, do you charge different fees for heavy and different for lighter vehicles?
Joe,
We're trying to determine whether that's what this is about.
heavy-duty wreckers, which we do not have, it's only Pendel and Rob's, they probably charge different fees.
Okay.
Well, this isn't for the record, this is
For the
just for
storage,
storage.
but it would be logical if you
We
had
do not, we charge a flat fee of $35. I don't care if it's a motorcycle or a big truck. It's $35.
Okay, well, that'd be the one that's now going to 45, but what's the 25? I don't know.
and these are maximum fees, so if the gentleman charges less, then that would be acceptable. These are maximum fees, they're allowed to be charged.
There's no differentiation
The
between 3 and 4. like I
main
said.
thing that we do, like say you were involved in an accident, if it goes through the insurance company, we charge $35 a day.
Right.
You as a walk-in customer, we feel bad for you. Most of the times, we just give the storage, don't worry about it, just pay for the tow fee.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about you guys that do this in the township. You're fair to most of the residents, and you
We are.
haven't gotten an increase in so many years, and everything keeps going up. But I want to make sure that we get this ordinance right, so you guys aren't going to be stuck in a position that could put you in a
The main thing is, we want from 125 to 150. Trucks cost $100,000 nowadays, $15,000 for the insurance, property taxes, so on and so forth. And then a lot of tows that we do, we get stuck with the vehicles, because they're totaled, nobody has insurance on them. Now we have to eat it. So we have to come over to the township building, apply for an abandoned title that township charges us for the paperwork, which is $175. So we're out the tow. Now we have to pay to get an abandoned title. So we're out money big time. Then we have to advertise it in the newspaper to say that it's an abandoned. You come auction, for an auction for the vehicle. We just lose flat out money left and right on that stuff.
No, I think these increases are very reasonable
exactly.
increases, and I'm personally overall for allowing them to happen, but I don't know what the difference is in storage fees that we're allowing. I really don't know.
A suggestion might be, gentlemen, in conferring with Ms. Gallagher, to just strike section 4, strike section D4.
Let's strike section 4.
Because it's
cheaper, let's let it go.
If the correct fees are number 3, then that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's just
And I
If
think
the
that
correct
was,
fees are 4, it doesn't make sense.
And renumbers subsection 5 to subsection 4.
And I think
That change would not require this to be re-advertised, since you're
Okay, so
eliminating,
it
since you're
doesn't?
just eliminating that one.
So now we're 1, 2,
fee.
3, and 4.
So it'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4.
All right, now we're thinking.
But is 3 the correct fees? That's
Three,
my-
1,
Yes.
2, and 3 are what the Department of Public Safety received from the towers and what they are recommending to the council.
Yeah, and
Okay, I'm fine with
And
that.
Mr. Davidson just said he charged 35, so now he'll be able to
Which
charge
is the
45.
current, which is the current rate.
Fine.
Can we take a look at these other charges that we have for these guys when they get stuck with a vehicle, that we charge them, that may be able to,
I mean, we as the township for things that are stored on township property?
No,
Or
for abandoned vehicle
abandoned vehicles,
fee.
they have to come over, they have to pay for something, and what was that you have to pay for?
We have to pay for a file for abandonment, so the township writes up paperwork, then we send it up to Harrisburg. It sits up there for a couple months. These cars sit on their property for like 6, 7 months.
What does the township charge you for
I
that?
believe it's $175.
That's what I'm asking, if it's just a matter to do paperwork, if one of the vehicles that they're stuck with, is that something we can look at and see?
We can certainly look into that. The township does obviously, in the process of assisting to declare a vehicle abandoned, the township is taking on a certain amount of liability as well in divesting the property rights of whomever owned the vehicle and now transferring it over to the tower so that he can dispose of it. So, built into the fee is more than just paperwork, but we can certainly take a
Because
look
they're
at it.
doing duty tow, helping the police and the fire with getting vehicles off the roadway, and, it's something I think we should just take a look at and see if there's any way we can help in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That fee you're referring to?
Is that a township fee, or is that partly township as well as PennDOT?
I don't know. It could include whatever we submit to PennDOT, but it is a process that involves the township and PennDOT in.
Right.
Yeah, it could be part of PennDOT
Right.
filing.
So that's why I asked if you could take a look at it and come back to us and let us know what it is.
is there any idea how much the township spends per year on these charges?
As far as I'm aware, these charges are all paid by either insurance companies or individual vehicle owners. They're not paid by the township.
Not paid by the township, okay.
There are occasions where the township will request a vehicle to be towed, but typically that would come back to the township's lot.
And then be charged to the resident or whoever is the owner of the vehicle?
Well, if there's a police vehicle that needs to be towed, then the tow charge would obviously come back to the township, but the vast majority are for the insurance company or the vehicle owner.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Not a motion would, was there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this? Seeing no one come forward, motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance increasing the various fees for our towers with an amendment to D, that D4 be eliminated and that D5 therefore be changed to number 4. So D would now read 1, 2, 3, 4 with the original number 4 being eliminated.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 13, a consideration of public hearing on a resolution on the Multimodal Transportation Fund grant application. Who's handling that one?
What am I signing here?
As the resolution and the materials in your packet indicate, the township is applying for a grant for the construction of sidewalks along a portion of Pasqualone Boulevard. The project will allow the township to connect an already existing sidewalk system to the intersection of Bristol and Pasqualone Boulevard. It will allow pedestrians from the surrounding neighborhood to walk to the existing intersection. And as council's aware, that intersection already has a bus stop, the Acme Shopping Center, the office park across the street where the BB&T Bank is located. All of those are would be accessible by the would make those accessible by these new sidewalks, as would the religious facilities that are located in in that office park where BB&T and Representative DiGirolamo's offices are located. This project is the first phase of what will be a larger pedestrian facility improvement project for the township that would have these sidewalks extending further north on Pasqualone Boulevard and would ultimately connect to the sidewalk system that's in place up near Valley Elementary School and the playgrounds and ball fields there. The project cost is expected to be $290,000. Township has allocated a 30% match contribution of $87,000 for this project, and those funds would come out of the township's capital improvement fund. The total grant contribution that's being sought is $203,000, which would be obviously the balance of the project cost, and has been the case of all of the grants that have come in front of you over the last 7.5 months. It requires council's approval of the resolution in order for the mayor and the director of administration to submit the paperwork to the necessary state entities, in this case, the State Department of Community and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Paizo. Do we have any questions?
Is the 30% match stipulated in the grant application?
Yes. Yes, the grant has a 30% match.
That's what I figured. And then is the $87,000 coming from the capital improvement fund, is that already budgeted in this year's budget, or is this for a future year?
That's in this year's budget.
This year's budget,
It's
okay.
in this year's
When
budget.
we asked for the grant, that's what we made sure we could have.
Okay, so there's
In capital.
existing room in there for this project, okay. Thank you.
Are the sidewalks on one side of the street, Joe?
I believe so, yes.
Both sides. Both sides, you said?
Yes, they'll ultimately be on both sides. Isn't that
Yeah.
right, Mayor?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And to
I don't-
continue on with it, you know. with
Yeah, it's
all
important because there's a
sidewalks,
couple, and
And all
Mr.
these areas don't have them.
Mr. Sloan lives right in that area, and I live relatively close to it. So there's bus stops right there at Pasqualone and Bristol Road, the beginning of Bristol Road. There's buses, and a lot of people walk to services
Yeah.
from the various homes.
And we'll continue
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So it's important that this is done.
Public safety, money well spent.
Yeah, this is.
And just to add to that, that light is timed now, that it stops all traffic at that intersection at one time so that people can cross it. So that's been already done.
Yep.
There's no other questions, and a motion would be in order?
I'll put in form of a motion that we accept the resolution as presented.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number
14?
14.
Number 14 on the agenda, consideration of a reduced permit fee for Holy Ghost Preparatory School Mothers Guild located 2429 Bristol Pike.
I don't know that there's much I can add that the reduced permit fee worksheet doesn't already show you. This is something the council approved in 2017 and as many years prior as I can recall. It's the Mothers Guild at Holy Ghost Prep for the annual for the tent that they have for the annual craft show that they have during the holidays, as I recall, in November. Consistent with council's request, the township the building and planning department has attached to the paperwork establishing the nonprofit status of the applicant.
And Joe, I just wanted to clarify that the actual savings that we're giving the Mothers Guild running this thing at Holy Ghost is a reduction of $430, and then we're allowing them to have put up a lesser bond, which really isn't money that the township would keep, right? Is that correct?
That is correct. The worksheet may be a tad misleading in that respect. You are correct, Mr. Knowles. The request is that the township would reduce the special events fee from $600 to $300, a 50% reduction, and the fees associated with the inspection of the tent from $260 down to $130, again a 50% reduction. The bond reduction from $10,000 to $5,000 would just be a reduction in the amount of bonding that they have to provide to the township, but that's not a reduction in the cost. The cost of the bond of a $5,000 bond is considerably less than $5,000, and that's not something that the township waives. The cost is the cost, but it'll be cheaper for them to get, fractionally cheaper for them to get a $5,000 bond than a $10,000. So the overall reduction in township fees would be $430.
Are these costs just associated with permits, or are there inspections that go along with them?
Both. For a special event, it's the issuance of the permit involves a review of the event application by the various township departments, chief among them building and planning and public safety, and in some cases they would be going out and doing on-site inspections commensurate with the event.
I would imagine they inspect the tent, to make sure it's
That's
secured
correct as well.
properly.
But the tent gets inspected also by the fire marshal's office.
Oh, okay.
In addition to the building and planning.
I've asked that question a million times. Are we covering our costs?
I think for most of this, we're paying it anyway. It's the standard overhead that we'd be paying all these people to do their jobs on a normal basis. I don't think this is quite the same as some of the other ones that we've looked at. But this is what we have talked
Well,
about
this is
numerous
at
times
least,
over the past
it's somebody
several months.
It's an organization that's definitely in the township, and it's the Mothers Guild, and, we're not, I don't think we're losing money, and it's definitely an organization that's here, and we know what they're doing and who they are. So I'd be in favor of doing this.
We can put a motion on the floor and it'll be a straight up or down vote.
I'll put a motion that we have alumni here too, so I don't want to. We have alumni. I'll put a motion that my son's an alumni, but I'll put a motion that we give the Holy Ghost Preparatory School Mothers Guild a 50% reduction in two fees and reduced bond of $5,000 as presented.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Any question on the motion?
Mr.
I think
Polari,
we've got someone who wants to come
there
forward
appears to
with
be
comment.
someone who wishes to speak.
We don't do
We don't
public comment
comment.
on these.
Okay. You can do it at the end.
Not on the,
Yeah.
we will have a public comment at the end. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. 5-0. Number 15 on the agenda, consideration of reduced permit fee for the Christian Life Prison and Recovery Ministry located at 3100 Galloway Road.
Again, I don't know that there's much I can add beyond what's on the permit fee. This would be a reduction in the special events permit from $300 down to $150, a 50% reduction. As the worksheet reminds council, you did grant the 50% waiver in 2017. and the applicant has provided to the township proof of their nonprofit and tax exempt status as part of the requested waiver.
Joe, why wouldn't it?
The event is for a relapse prevention walk and fundraiser that they are planning to hold on September 8th on the grounds of the Christian Life Center and also on the Bensalem Community Park, which is across the street.
And they would not be required to have any kind of bond because it's not an event that the public's going to, or what's the deal?
I do not know why a bond would or would not be required for this event versus the other.
Maybe they're not asking for a reduction.
But again,
maybe they're not.
That could be it as well.
Okay.
But all of those criteria are made up by the various township entities. Again, that's part of the process of the special events. They say, this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
The departments look at it and say, this is what we need, and then a fee is assessed.
Yeah,
And then they come back to you and ask you to cut it.
Yeah, I think
And
Ed's
then we
probably
have a
right. They're
5
probably
or
not
10 minute
asking.
discussion on why we do this in the first place.
They're probably not
and
asking
ultimately
for
you
the
vote.
reduction. They probably don't have it 10, I would assume.
There ain't any other questions on this? If not, a motion's in order.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Christian Life Prison and Recovery Ministries special events fee from $300 to $150.
I'll second it.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 16 on the agenda, consideration of an escrow release for Morelli Land Development, 876 Mill Road, tax parcel 2-23-19, 2-23-20. Mr. Gans.
Yes, they requested a release of $27,387. We are recommending a release of $18,432.14, subject to audit by the Finance Department.
Do we have any questions? Not a motion will be in order.
I've got some questions. There's multiple items that are footnoted.
Yes.
And I noticed that these are, if they're not zero, they're a partial release. Is that a proration based on percent complete for those line items?
Yes, it's based on the actual work completed. Oftentimes, the contractor submits the full amount, but out in the field, it's not done yet. So we won't release it until it's completely done.
Okay.
But you're right, it's prorated based on what they've done.
But you feel that you have enough remaining after this release to make sure that the
Yes.
work's done?
Yes.
Okay.
Then the other one was actually line item 2, the silt fence.
Yes.
It says that it must be installed and maintained until approved by BCCD. Should that be 0? I mean, or is this already in progress at this point?
Was that, was it?
It sounds like it's put in place, but perhaps not being maintained properly. So they have to correct that.
Okay.
If he's given them a partial amount,
Something has to be done on there.
yes.
It could have ripped or been blown down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Didn't do it, right.
Thank you. That answers my questions.
Okay, if there's no other questions, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we give the escrow release for Morelli Land Development, $18,432.14, with audit by the Finance Department.
Second the motion.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 17 on the agenda, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Come forward, please.
Good evening, all. My name is Linda Biddles Snyder, and I live at 1048 Orchid Avenue. And I just wanted to thank the mayor for arranging to have the property next to me cleaned up. I want you to know that the people who are living in this house, it's a condemned home, are still sleeping there every night, and that the piles have begun. I know, and it's not for lack of hard work. I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 truckloads were removed. And yeah, it started again. So, you know, I have not called the police every evening.
You know, I don't want to wait up till midnight or 11 o'clock until they show up. That's what they do. They'll go out for a few hours, they come back with provisions, and they don't have water sewer, but there are foul odors now. And so it's just, I know it's an ongoing process to do this.
Let me
but-
bring you up to date. We are back in court.
Okay.
Asking the judge, our police go down there, you know. we
Turn your
talked-
sound on. Yeah.
We talked this many times. It's so hard for to go into a place, the police, and throw somebody out.
Oh,
if they're-
sure.
So we went back to court. The other attorney's handling it. Yeah.
Mr. Marlier from our office.
No, I think it's.
Mr. Marlier from our office.
Yes, thank you. They're handling it, and we know we're back in court. We need the judge that he should have said the first time to allow us to take the people out of the house. They're not supposed to be there. Absolutely right. No water, nothing there in that property, and they're starting to load stuff up again outside?
They're starting to pile
All right,
things
we'll
up
send somebody
again.
down there tomorrow.
And, you know, the children are there a lot. And it's a sad situation. I just want to have some compassion for these people. It's just hard to. It's hard to with the smell and what goes on there.
I feel so bad for you, the dog, the whole situation.
You know,
we're
I feel
trying-
like I know there's a lot worse situations, but I just don't want to sit back anymore and be quiet about it.
If it's condemned and not safe, we should be able to board that out and up and not allow them in there if that's the case.
It's all the judge.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The judge should have told us the first time, not just to clean it up, which they said we had to do, the judge, not that we had to go to court first to make them, who wouldn't do it, so we had to do it. And it's a crazy case.
And as far as I know, they should not be staying there overnight and burning, you know, fires. There's no water, God forbid, because there's piles and piles of ground tree stumps. They're flattened now. It's all ground level and it's flattened, but they smoke out there. Now, we just keep thinking, one flick, no water, we're asleep, roaring fire. You know, it's scary.
You're very patient, both of you.
But I just kind of,
I
I did
don't
want to
know. I
thank you
wish that I
for
would-
getting it started and for stepping in, and, you know, I'm just hopeful.
The court system is unbelievable, unbelievable.
Well, I do know that on September 18th, and this was my question, if anybody could help me. On September 18th, the House will be going to auction because of unpaid taxes. But it's a crazy situation where half the house, it's on two parcels. One parcel is only a year behind, and the other parcel is 2 years behind, but the house sits in the center of it. So that's difficult too, so it's going to be a
The whole thing is
challenge.
weird, and it goes back to what family, the
Yeah.
people who live there, I don't think are owners.
No, they're not.
They're not the owners. It goes back to whoever died. It's an incredibly complicated, unbelievable, and
It is.
in America that we just can't go in there. And
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
telling
you don't want to drag somebody out of, I don't know if they have anywhere else to go.
Well, I don't think
but
dragging them out is the thing. It's unsafe for whoever.
It is. It's a sad
that's in there.
situation.
Well, if it gets sold at sheriff's sale, the new owner will have the legal right just to go and secure the property.
Yes.
But if
Well,
it's-
that's one of the
parcel or two,
things.
if it's but not-
When they talk about parcel, I have to look into it, but when they talk about parcels, sometimes they're combined parcels that pay tax.
They often are by the Board of Assessment for tax purposes.
Yeah.
But again.
I don't know for sure.
I did check in this
In most
particular
cases,
one
if
is
there's a
not.
house on it, it's considered two parcels on one lot, like, you know, so if it goes, it goes, whether 1 or 2 years.
We'll be on it again tomorrow.
Thank you so
I'll have
much.
somebody come down here and talk to you.
Okay. Maybe just take a walk around
And
again.
you know,
and,
hopefully we get our money back. This costs us a lot of money, the township. The attorneys work, we lien it, that's what we
Right.
do. We lien the property to get our money back.
Well, whoever buys it would have to pay,
Pardon me?
whoever buys it generally has to pay the liens that are on the property.
Yeah, well, yeah, as soon as, like. when
So
it
it'll be
gets-
sold if
The
it's,
township is always first in line.
right, good.
So we'll get our money before anybody else.
That's good to know, but how much of a value will it now be? Because it's
Yeah.
gone on so long. But anyway, I don't want to take up any more time. I just want to say thank you all for looking into it.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to come forward?
Hi, my name is, Don Medvick, and I'm at 1177 Kings Avenue, and I also stutter, okay? I have an issue with my neighbor. He moved in CO 15, all right? He came out of CD City, and he didn't know our laws here, okay? And he excavated his yard higher than our yard. And he also added in a hill. At the far end of the yard. See where it is supposed to empty off, and where it's supposed to empty. See into it's supposed to empty into Ramblers, okay? Because I'm on the edge of Ramblers, and there's actually a hill that all of our yards empty off into. And now, all of the water is affecting on my yard, and on my neighbor's yard, and on my other neighbor's yard, okay? Now I've had this issue since 2015, and I have everything here, and here, that says that I am in the right. And I was here all my life in this township. And my mom still lives here, and my sister still lives here, and I live in my own house, okay? And I lived there since 98. Now, these issues that I'm having, are only happening, after, the neighbors, excavated, their yard. Now, I was, in our own home since 98, okay? Now, my neighbor, he came in 2015, okay? And at, the end of this month, he's making settlement, on his house. How do I fix this issue? And, I also had to say that our family has put, their lives, into this township. My father, he organized Nottingham Fire Company with his friends, okay? This was, the original Nottingham Fire Company. And I have never had, any complaints at all about, my property or anything. And I ain't an outlaw, and I pay taxes, and I want to know, what can be done about this. Because, at, the end of the month, this is over. How can I fix it? How can I put a lien on their house? Like you said, Mr. Mayor, you said that, the other person that was up here could put a lien on someone's house, and you have it, in court already. So I want to know how I get, this issue taken care of.
Can I just stop you for a second? I didn't know about this issue. You're bringing it up now. This is first. Ron,
That's
you have
not
these
true.
addresses? Which one is this?
He came to me months ago and I forwarded all the information to you
Which
in your
one is it?
office.
Where is it?
On Kings Avenue, next to Ramblers Field.
Oh, yeah, yes. Okay, I remember
I thought he
that.
said Corey. I thought he said Corey, but it's
Okay, Kings Avenue. I apologize.
Okay.
Kings Avenue.
And I thought you were
Ron.
Corey, which is the other side.
See, I actually stutter, and it is
Hold on just-
hard for me to come up here.
That's all right, I just thought it was
Okay.
Kings.
Yeah, What's the address again? 11?
It's 1171 is next to me. And I can see, yes, sir. And, see, they were out there. See, I also have something else. See, now I have a public safety issue that I would like to introduce to you guys that you don't even know about. I just got out of the hospital, okay? And there's a tick in our area that's carrying something that eats your red cells. And I almost didn't make it. And I want to see everyone in this room and everyone in our township to know about this. Who do I hand it to?
Give it to us over here.
I just got out of the hospital. I had an appointment with, the zoning thing, and I was in the hospital at the time. And I was up here, and they sent me to Temple University because they didn't know anything at all about this. And I'm only 1 in 5 in our county who has had it. And I want everyone to know that it can be harmful, or fatal to anyone.
Well, as far as your house, okay,
Yes.
just as, from my own knowledge, I would say that in 2015, you can't, and Mr. Gantz can back me up on this, it doesn't matter how long you lived in the township, actually, you can't change your grade of your property.
Yeah, well, that's what they did.
No matter how long they lived there. So someone who lived there 50 years doesn't have a right to do it either.
Right.
So whether they're
Because sir, it is affecting, not only on my yard, on my neighbor's yard, and my next neighbor. And I have everything in this,
Well, the township would have to go out and inspect the property.
Hey, they were out there a couple of times,
And
and
then-
they said, oh, it's erosion. And it is an erosion.
Okay, well, I don't
Okay.
know, I don't know whether there is or not, but the other, so if there's a violation.
Yes,
that
it
they
is
can-
violation
Well, if
because,
there is.
see, they didn't have a permit to do what they did. And in order to get a permit, you have to have site plans to say, okay, it's going to go, this way. And they didn't have any of that. See, and I also heard that Sequoia, Landscaping has a lot to do with this, because it always happens. He always messes up, and that's exactly what happened.
So they had a landscaping company do this?
Yes, Sequoia.
Did
And I
the-
told them, they said, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, see, they never get CEO approval or engineers or anyone to say, okay, see, this is how it ought to sit, and this is how it ought to go.
So I was able to check and no permits were taken out for this property. So any regrading that was done would have probably been in violation then.
1171 is the violation?
Yes. And if you go and look, you can see the fence is all being eaten away due to the change in elevation there. there's erosion around the structure, around the corners from the water flow.
See, I ain't an engineer. See, but I am not an engineer, and I can tell, see what's
Now,
happening.
did you say that the
Okay.
property's under agreement and going to sale?
Yes, it is. See,
Okay,
the
well,
end of the
then, if-
month, see,
okay.
they are
Well, if there's violations,
signing the, how do you say it? I don't know, they're signing,
Closing the sale.
they are,
yeah,
she actually signing it over to the other owners.
yeah, the settlement date. But
Yeah,
they
the
have to get
settlement
it, the
date.
settlement date, but they
The
have to
end of
get
the
it.
month.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. But they have to get it, they have to get a use and occupancy permit for the new buyer to
Yeah,
be able to
well-
occupy it. Okay, let me just finish for a second. They have to get a use and occupancy permit for the new buyer to occupy the premises. If there's a violation against the property, whether it's open permits or things done without permits, if it's determined that's the case, and I don't know, I believe you, but I don't know,
Yeah.
then they can hold up their use and occupancy permit until they correct the drainage
Yeah, well,
problems.
well, in CO 15, I had CR, our zoning people out there. And see, they said that, see, they would fine them $1,000 a day, okay? Now, I talked to her last week, and I said, hey, you said that you were going to fine them $1,000 a day. And their answer was, oh, no, I didn't say that. Oh, no, I didn't say that. So am I hearing things or they didn't issue it?
Mr. Polari, Mr. Polari, if
And
I
I
could.
ain't a stupid person, okay?
We're going to give the solicitor an opportunity.
Okay.
It is my understanding that following Mr. Sloan sending the paperwork into the township, that Mr. Neron and township inspectors have been out to the property several times, and I believe the gentleman just said that township has been out several times. My understanding is that the property in question had an above-ground pool
Yes,
that was removed.
yes.
That does not require a permit from the township.
No.
Removing the swimming pool increases the amount of pervious, not decreases. So when you take the pool off of the property, there's now more surface for rainwater to soak into the ground, not less. Mr. Neron, again, has been out several times, and I've been told that neither O'Donnell and Nacarado nor the township inspectors have found any violations. So were there a violation, a fine could be up to $1,000 a day, but if there is no violation, then obviously there is no fine. If there were violations, a new C&O, as Mr. Knowles was speaking to, could be withheld, but if there are no violations, then the CO will issue.
Yeah.
So the township has responded several times, having people go out to inspect, to respond to the request. Now, there may be other issues perhaps that the township hasn't been alerted to, but at least as to those issues that the township has been asked to address, O'Donnell and Nacarado and the township inspectors have been out and determined there is no basis to issue a citation to that property
So
owner.
the water runoff that's coming off their property onto these other people's property isn't a problem?
Understand
It is a
that
problem.
there is water runoff throughout this township.
No.
From one,
This
if
is wrong.
Sir.
I have pictures here, okay? And I don't know, how come you're arguing
Sir,
this?
I'm not arguing, sir, and I've listened patiently throughout this conversation. I've been asked a question, and I'm trying to respond to it. There is stormwater throughout this township that travels from one property to another. In some cases, there are neighborhoods that are designed with swales and backyards that have water that goes through one yard to the next and down the hill to the next till it ultimately goes to wherever it's gathered. To the extent that the neighboring property owner may or may not be exacerbating an existing situation, the township inspectors, again, and I'm not an inspector. I'm not out there in my work boots. I'm not out there making this decision. I can only go off of what I'm being told. But what I'm being told is that whatever was done to that property has not resulted in a new condition or exacerbated an existing condition that may have existed for the last 10, 20, 50, 100 years. And that's what we speak to, at least in terms of when the inspectors are going out.
Mr. Medved, can I ask you a question? Did you have water runoff problems before these people moved into this house?
No, I didn't.
Thank you.
In addition-
And also, sir, see, that house was, there for a long time, okay? And on my, my yard, was level, completely level the whole time that I lived there. Until this happened. And I also have them, in here. I also have pictures of my yard.
Did you say
In
Sequoia?
years before.
Did you say Sequoia went in and regraded the property?
Yes, sir.
filled in the pool.
And I argued with him. I said, hey, you need a
After you
permit.
take it out, you gotta
He
keep
was
the
going
sand
to
out.
get his son, after me, okay? Because I argued with him. I said, hey, so don't you need anything? He said, oh, no, I don't need no permit. And, our township, asked the neighbor, and the neighbor said that, they added soil to that yard to make it higher.
Well, if they were just filling where the pool was, because the pool was above
No.
ground, below
See,
ground.
the
they-
pool-
I'm just, can I
Okay,
finish?
good.
If they were just filling in the area that the pool was down in the ground, they could do that. Now, if they brought it up in the middle and brought it down, that would be something the inspectors would have to look at.
That's exactly what they did.
Well, Ron,
They're arguing that, they only put soil, into that area that had sand in it. Now, they didn't. They excavated the whole yard, and it is higher than my fence. This much higher. And I put up, that fence. And, when I put up, that fence, it was like a half an inch, off of the ground, so no rot would get to it and everything. And now, it's falling down.
okay. Well, the engineer's
can
going
I
to go out
read-
and look
can
at
I-
it.
Yeah, well, I've had the engineers out there.
Can I, excuse me, just right, can I go start all over on this so that we
Yeah, good.
can find out what in the world's going on? Well, Quentin's been out there. Quentin has to give me a report on all the times he's been out there.
Quentin and Chris.
Yeah.
Chrissy.
Chris been out there too?
Yeah.
All right, well, tomorrow,
And
tomorrow's too, you're here tomorrow. I want Quentin and Chris to give me a report of what they did and now we can go to GPS, we can see what was out there before and what's there now.
And there's a
have it all here.
significant step down
have it all
from when
here.
you're
I
next
have
renovation.
snapshots of my yard.
Okay.
And my son sitting up next to the fence, seeing the other yard.
Can you share
And that's what
that
they
with
looked
us,
at.
or you only have one copy? You have,
Oh, I can show them with you, yeah.
no, not show them to me, can I have it, or can we bring it in and make copies?
Oh, yeah, we can make copies of them all.
So I can give them
How
that.
level, how the water was, on my yard.
Okay.
My son, okay?
Good. You don't want to leave these with me, because I know that's your property, but can you come in tomorrow, we make copies of it?
Yeah, sure. Oh, well, I asked, them to take copies, and this, is a copy. This is, the fence and the gate that, we always had to open up to head into each other's yard. We always had a gate there so that we could share, share as neighbors.
Get these, I mean, me looking at this doesn't mean anything to me. I need the engineers to get it, but if you get a copy, and we'll get back on.
Oh, do you want them?
If you want to give them to me,
Here.
I'll make sure you get them back. I'll make sure you get them back.
Okay. Hey, and this issue, everyone has to know about this, okay? Because I got sick
have
and I
11.
almost died.
11 photos.
Okay.
I'll share this. It's something that happened at Lower Bucks County Hospital.
Yeah,
He
well-
was bitten by a tick.
See, they didn't know how
Yeah,
to handle it.
treat it.
So I got sent to Temple University. I told you that. I was at our Temple.
Okay, so we're gonna have,
Made the appointment that they made. No?
so they're gonna get back on this tomorrow, the engineer,
Okay.
the two
Hey, thank you, Matt.
the two inspectors are
Right.
gonna get to the mayor, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Well-
Try to get to the bottom of it.
Hey, I'm only here because, see, this is on my last effort to see this fixed. And I've been asking since it happened.
Ron, you have the address?
Hey, and I know you well. You know what I mean? Hey, I know all you guys well, probably.
Yep, you've been around for a long
You
time.
know, man, we've been around for a long time.
Give
man.
us the opportunity now that
Okay.
you come to us. Let's let the mayor
Okay.
and Ron Gans get on this, and
Okay.
then we'll get the reports of what's going on and try to get to the bottom of this.
See, only because I'll get an answer, and then they'll say, oh, well, I didn't say that.
Well, you're talking with
Okay,
us now,
well,
and you're on
that's,
TV.
I
so
know.
You're on TV, and this
I'm on
is
TV.
available for
I'm
internet
sorry.
and everything else. So
But I
trust me.
stutter, and see, this actually helped me to open up a little bit.
And we appreciate that.
No,
yeah.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming out.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you
for coming
for
out.
listening to me.
Thanks.
We'll get
You
back to
know?
you.
Hey, sometimes I get angry.
Join the club.
Sir, I was just curious, have you ever pursued any action against your neighbor individually? Have you sued them in court?
No, because, see, I talked to a lawyer, and, see, it cost me $150 to talk to a lawyer, to ask him.
I just was
See, what I
asking
should
if
do.
you had pursued any legal action against
No.
them. Your answer is no, you haven't. Thank you.
Because he said that I could not afford to go after the whole township.
Well, give us an opportunity here. Let's
Okay,
see if we
thank
can
you.
get to the bottom of this for you.
Okay, thank you for,
sir.
hey, thank you for actually hearing me out, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
George Anderson, 868 Mill Road, Bensalem. I have a complaint in reference to the people that have the business behind me. There's supposed to be a 20-foot road between my property and their property, but they have consumed the whole thing. I have pictures to show.
Have you filed this with the township, with the building and planning department?
A little hard of hearing, I have a cold.
Have you put this into the building and planning department for them to go out and investigate what you're asking?
Yeah.
And they've gone out there?
What I'm asking is if somebody could open that road, which is not owned by myself or the other three people that have the property alongside.
It's a paper street?
No, it's a designated road.
Is it Robinson?
Excuse me?
Is the road called Robinson Road?
Yes, it is.
Because I know where it is.
You know where it is?
Yes, it leads to the rear of the property.
Yes, it leads to the rear of three properties. They block it off. They put vehicles there
Is this recent?
constantly.
Well, look, it's Robinson Avenue off Mill Road, right?
It's off of Mill Road, yes. Here's a diagram, if you wish. Here's a deed that says there is a 20-foot road.
Do they completely block it where you can't get by with a
I
car?
can't get by. They block it with their vehicle.
Okay, well, you should call the police then. They can't do that.
Keep this for your records. We'll send somebody out there.
All right, that's one of the problems that we're having. The other is, there's a sign of their business at the head of Robinson Avenue, the one that comes off of Mill Road. There's the picture of the sign. There's a family that lives on that street that have little children. And vehicles come up and down. You can't see coming up the street or going down.
So Ron, can you check and see if that sign's there
This-
legally and if they've got the permits?
This sign has been there for quite a while. There's no property owner, Minelli. He just put up a business.
We just asked the engineer to look to make sure that they had permits and did the things they have and if that sign's legally. So he's going to look into that also.
Well, for one thing, the sign isn't on, it's on private property.
And that's what he's going to go out and check. We have to check that with our records and make sure what's there. So that's another thing he's going to look at, both your issues.
You want to see the sign? You can have this if you wish. Believe me, I have it for my, I got 2 or 3 copies. What I want to know if there's something you can do about it, both of the problems that we're having and I'm having.
We'll investigate them tomorrow. Cindy, could you get his name and number and give it to Ron so we can get back to them? Not off the microphone, please.
George.
Thank you. Sorry.
This is the first I heard of this one. I didn't hear this one before. Must be a paper street.
That's why I tried to find out if there was.
Paper street.
Ron's gonna get it.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
I'll have to check it out and make sure it's the only one. Okay, so now that we know about your problem, Mr. Gans is gonna go check that out, he's gonna get back to the mayor on it, and we'll get to the bottom of everything. If the signs are illegally, then it'll have to come down.
Can I be there when you're coming in?
I'm not sure we'll have somebody out there. We have your phone number and your name, so we can give you a call.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ron, is this a street or a paper street? Is it a street or a paper street?
Sir,
No, it's okay, he's asking you.
It's actually a 20-foot lot. It contains a street. It's a paper street if it's even that.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kathleen McAdams, M-A-C, capital A-D-A-M-S, and I live at 2766 Murray Avenue in Bensalem. Thank you to everyone for what you do. It's wonderful. I really appreciate it. My overall concern is traffic. I live on Murray Avenue. Sometimes it's very fast, distractive driving, and often, reckless driving on my road. There's a lot of ATVs. It's a half-mile run, and being, kind of like a little private street, people use it for kind of racing from time to time, which makes it hard for kids to be out on bikes and whatnot. One day I was hit by a car just pulling into my driveway. They were trying to pass me, and I actually had an Officer DePaula. He drove past saying it was like an unreportable accident for some reason. Also, on my street, my daughters, my 2 high school daughters, over the past 6 years or so, they would do after-school activities, and getting dropped off at Street Road with their after-school activities, they would walk down, and it's very dark because it's not well lit. But more importantly, these cars racing down, you know, a lot of times I would just go and park at Street Road just to get them home safely. Let's see. Is there any way you could consider larger speed limit signs? The ones we have on Murray Avenue are quite small. So is there any way, I don't know how expensive that would be, but is there any way you could consider the larger ones more prominent and closer to Street Road? Because Street Road is pretty tough, and we have a lot of cut-through traffics coming, you know, both east and west at the end of Murray on Century. Also, just to mention, you had mentioned the lights and the staggered light system, which is smart, you know, both going left at the same time, both going right at the same time. It makes it almost impossible, though, for us to come out on Murray to make that left. So I tell my teenagers, go around and go to the light at Mechanicsville at Street Road. Anyway, just for safety. Also, the second reason I'm here is here in Bensalem, we have very large projects in front of us. Catherine Drexel, the old high school, and I understand that both are on state highways, both Route 13 and Street Road. My topics of concern are the population that will be added to a very busy town. Our driveways are very tight, especially like, say, for example, Mechanicsville, just north. There's 3 driveways just within the first 150 feet. Okay, let's see. Oh, and since there was at one point, there was an elder center suggested or mentioned in passing for the Catherine Drexel area because it is primarily residential, could that be considered, considering it's a state highway, could that be considered for the Armstrong property? Something where there's not a lot of traffic, because personally, I've been hit 4 times in the past 10 years, and I'm exhausted. So I most recently have been hit by a Mack truck, and, you know, I thank God every day that me and my daughter are here and alive. So let's see. Oh, the drivers are distracted. You often see them with full computers out driving, you know, in the sedans, or they're, you know, handling their digital devices. So the distracted driving is very, very, you know, a huge problem. And I like Bensalem. I like living here. I like raising my 4 daughters here, and I'd like them to stay here and, you know, raise their families. But this is very populated, and I'm concerned with the sale. I know it's premature, but I'm concerned with the sale of the Armstrong property and what it'll do to Street Road and our town, because we are very, you know, business over populated. So thank you for your time. I won't keep you any longer. Just wanted 5 minutes. And lastly, God rest John McCain. God bless him. So thank you very much. If you have any comments or responses, I'd love to hear them. Any thoughts?
As far as Armstrong and the Catherine Drexel, that's what we're looking at. And you'll have an opportunity when they come forward to come and speak on it. So that'll be a public meeting, goes through their school district is selling their property because they're not using it. Catherine Drexel is closed down in Booth, so they're selling that property. So we're hoping that the best use with the least amount of traffic would be put on these properties, and we're pushing for that type of thing.
I agree.
Just so you know. And Armstrong, they're going to put a second road out to you though, so it'll be split up and not all come on the street road. I live on off a street road too, so I know what the traffic's like down there too. You know, there's certain things we can and can't do when somebody has a property or buys a property. We do it within the law, but they are things that we're going to be looking at, and we will get the opportunity when they're advertised to them and speak them on it.
Kathy, what we can do now, Mayor, can we look at Murray Avenue and the signage for speeding on Murray? It is a straight run.
I wrote it down, it's larger.
I never heard of anything as an unreportable accident, by the way, but.
I know, thank you, Mr. DiPaolo.
When did he tell you that?
That was so many accidents ago. Gosh, it's so hard, Joe, to keep track of all my street road accidents. That was, I was pulling into my driveway with my third daughter, having fourth, so, and she was little, so we'll probably say 6, 7 years ago. He was in a police car. Was he on duty going home? Because I know he lives at the end of my street. So I do not know. My insurance agent yelled at me, but.
It's a public street, and if you get hit on a public street, you report an accident.
Oh, my God.
And just so you know, we do have an ordinance on distracted driving, and our police officers do look for it when they are out on the road. It's just hard to find everybody because there's so many cars on the road. What's the
speed limit on Murray now?
25, and, I mean, ideally, yes, and I feel bad for Mechanicsville, one street over, which is much higher than us, you know.
It is testing for people who know the area that come through there.
Yes, yes.
And not only that, but most of the time we got people speeding through a lot of the neighbors that live there. You put
It's-
a speed trap in,
it's
you find
quite-
out it's all the neighbors.
That's quite true.
But the ATVs are a problem. If you see those police,
They-
report it to the police, they'll come right out because
They're very dangerous, yeah.
Higher residential areas, I think where there's lots.
Yeah, yeah, and if you run them on your lot, that's great, no problem.
We get them in developments that have no restrictions.
You're absolutely right, you're absolutely right, yes. So, but I appreciate your time, thank you so much. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it, look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment?
Barbara Zeidler, 1108 Ohio Avenue, Bensalem. First of all, I wanted to thank you. I haven't been able to be to the last few meetings because I have something conflicting now on Monday nights. But the last time I was here, I asked about the deer crossing on Mechanicsville Road. And in less than 2 weeks, those signs were up. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure the people that use it all the time appreciate it. I came over there, and all you have to do is drive by there about 6:30, 6:45. Every night, the herd that's out is bigger than the night before, and tonight there had to be 15 deer right on what I call Park's backyard at the new intersection there. It is unbelievable, so I do appreciate it. And I noticed that they also put a second one on. There was one coming towards Street Road, and they've now put a second one just as you get past the woods, which is really a warning about what's coming at Parks. So I do appreciate very much that that was taken care of so quickly, because we know come October, they really start running. And at dusk, it can really be treacherous, so I appreciate that. The other thing that I want to mention, and I know before I say this, that you don't control the school board, but you are the governing body of this township, and I think that you have a right to know what's going on in the township or what has gone on. Something happened that really disturbed me. It's a friend of ours. They, in February, applied to enroll their son at school lane charter. And they filled out the information correctly and honestly. In May, they were called that there was an opening for their son. He'd be starting high school, 9th grade. They went in and again, filled out all the paperwork, did what they had to do. He was accepted, he was enrolled. And starting, I believe it was the beginning of August, he started attending all of the training and practices for football season. He was there every day. He did the weightlifting and all the other things he had to do. He ate lunch at the high school and then did some more training in the afternoon. And the day before school started, He was told that he's not eligible to play on the football team because he's not a Bensalem resident. Now, every organization has a right to have their rules, but they also have an obligation to enforce them properly. And to let that boy come, he gave up a week's vacation at the shore with his grandparents because he was doing this. He could have been a week in August down at Wildwood, but he wasn't. I don't think that it's rocket science to say on the application, non-residents are ineligible for extracurricular activities. At no point did he ever falsify his address. They knew from day one he was a Philadelphia resident. The day before school started, I believe school started on Thursday, the day before, the head coach told him he wasn't eligible to play. Now, I think this is abominable. People used to go into education because they cared about kids. That's not caring very much about a young man who was really looking forward to and planning on, 4 years here in Bensalem High School, in charter school, and playing for the football. And
I'm a little confused. Is it Bensalem High School football team?
yeah,
The charter school doesn't have football.
no. Right. Exactly, that's my point. They could have told him in February, they could have told him in May when he finally was accepted, and they certainly could have told him on the 1st of August, not the end of August, that he was ineligible. To let him come and participate in all those practices.
Do we know that did he fill out paperwork with the Bensalem School District to play on the football team?
He filled out whatever paperwork he was given, and he did it honestly on every piece of paper that they filled out, his parents filled out. Well, he applied to School Lane, and he was accepted. He was, as I say, he applied in February, and that he was in May. He was told that he.
But he lives in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's the deciding factor here, not
I
where he
don't-
goes to school, but where he lives.
I
believe
don't think that's an issue. It shouldn't be. I mean, yes, if that's the rule, fine. But why let him come to all the practices and then tell him, oh, you can't play?
That's something I'll have to take up with the superintendent.
I would appreciate it, because it sounds to me like one of two things. Either somebody is just not paying attention, or the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, in which case maybe we need some new hands, because I think it was it borders on being cruel to do that to a kid.
Yeah.
Any kid.
We'll have to talk to the superintendent and see how that slipped through the cracks, because if they didn't have to fill out paperwork to come, they said they go to School Lane Charter School, and nobody asked, do you live in Bensalem? That's number one issue.
Right.
First, we have to get to the bottom of what happened. First, can you find out from his parents, did he fill out paperwork with the Bensalem football team? I'm not sure that they do. I just think that they say, I go to School Lane Charter School here in Bensalem, and if somebody didn't ask that question, that's where the problem.
Well, somebody knew, because the coach knew enough to come up to him and tell him, you can't play.
They must have realized at some point that.
Right, somebody just didn't bother to read the paperwork.
He's a student at
We'll reach out to the superintendent
Yeah.
and find out what their procedures, what their
Right.
policies are, and hopefully this won't happen
Yeah,
again.
it shouldn't happen.
Right, it should not have happened.
They should have
And-
told him from the beginning he couldn't play.
That's what I say. If they put one sentence on the application, non-residents ineligible for extracurricular activities, what's that, 6 or 7 words? And they would have known up front. The kid and his family were very honest, but what they got back was,
Did they report it to the superintendent of Bensalem?
I do not know that.
That's where this.
I only just found out about this yesterday.
You may want to encourage
They're
them to
friends of-
contact the superintendent's office.
Yeah.
Because
And
that's something that we can correct, I would think. as a
No,
school
I
board.
understand that, and I think that's part of the problem. It seems that the school board is an entity unto itself, and it's about time they started listening to somebody or having to account to somebody.
Agreed, but I think the parents need to reach out to the superintendent, Samuel Lee, and let him know what happened, because we can't have this happen with another child. It shouldn't be done.
Right.
They should know that up front. You're correct with that. But
Right.
if they go there first and nothing happens, then we can call, or the mayor can call, or one of us can call. We can do that anyway, but have them report that to the school district so they know
And
what happened.
is that over at the office in Dunallen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Samuel Lee. Thank
Will he
you.
be able to play football, whatever district he's in Philadelphia? I'm assuming he'd be able to play football for that team, is that correct? In other words,
I
if he's...
don't know.
Well,
That I
That
don't
may
know.
be something.
I mean, that would probably be Washington or something, you know. Which if they wanted him to go to Washington, they would have never applied here.
Yeah, I think that if they go to the superintendent on Allen Drive, let him know what's going on. He's very proactive about these things. I think he'll look into it, but in the meantime, I have to call him about something else. I will put that out to him and let him know that there's issues.
Thank
And
you.
have him check into it.
Thank you. I appreciate what all of you gentlemen do all the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that would like to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, public comment is closed. Other business from supporting personnel, Mr. Gans.
Just everybody have a relaxing Labor Day, and see you in September.
Is there such a thing?
It says labor, so.
Ms. Gallagher, do you have anything? Mr. Pizzo?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Sloan?
A question for the mayor. Do we have any update on a replacement for Mr. Dequita?
We have done several, interviews so far. We have not come up with a person yet.
Okay.
A couple people turned us down after interviews, finding out everything what they had to do. And one person was from Philadelphia, found out after they accepted the job that they only had 7 years in their pension down there, and they needed 10 before. So didn't realize that until went back and looked at what they were doing in Philly. So we had two that actually, after everything was done, that we accepted, and they said, okay, we had problems with it. We interviewed about 8 people so far. We're putting an ad out again.
Okay.
We're going to make it broader, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Now, we do have an acting director, though, right?
We have an acting director that's here 3 days a week. Can't have them all the time. It's an outside company, and the cost is greater than what we would do. Actually, I don't think it would be in the outrun, but it looks like it is on paper. But that office is running well now. We found out a lot of things are under control.
Okay.
And I'm happy we need a director.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Just wanted to make a note that the ordinance change for the residency requirement, we all did receive drafts of it on Friday, so thank you for getting that out to us. I know I intend to get comments back by the end of the week so we can get this resolved and hopefully on the agenda for the next meeting. So we can.
It will be, once we get the input in, and if you feel one ordinance is good, acceptable, that's the easiest way. If there's, and then we can make changes, whatever we have to do. So I thank you for your patience.
No, yeah, absolutely, thank you. And then just I want to wish everybody have a happy and safe Labor Day, and the next meeting's not till the 17th, so Happy New Year to all of my fellow Jews. Lashana Tova. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tognation.
Thank you. Just a few things. One point about, I've had another request come through for the striping at the stop signs for Hidden Valley. That was a request that I put through, I believe
Yeah,
it
we
was
were
last
working
meeting.
with Fred on that, doing a police study, Hidden Valley, right?
Yeah, I know there's
And I
concern.
think
there's-
they agree with the striping, painting something at the
I mean,
stop
so we're not
sign.
talking, it's not difficult to.
That's not,
If we can put signs up for deer crossing, I can't imagine why we wouldn't be able to put.
well, I think we are.
okay.
I think they came to me
All
and
right.
said that's one of the things we're doing.
Okay. And I know that in addition to that, I know there are times when you have the word stop written in front too as well, and I don't know if that's a possibility, but.
The what?
It just says stop in front of that line too as well.
They can paint the word stop in the street.
Well, these dangerous intersections you're talking about?
Yeah,
Well,
there's a
people
stop
fly down that
sign.
main road through Hidden Valley. and
I mean,
they're
there's been
concerned it's
accidents
blowing
there, is what I'm saying? There's been
And a
accidents there?
lot of near misses for
Near
pedestrian
misses.
crossing.
Are there stop signs there?
Yes.
There is.
Well, that would be better than on the ground. You get rain, somebody's not going to see.
Well, there's already a
Well-
stop sign and people are blowing through the stop sign.
They're not seeing the stop signs from what I understand.
Earlier, we've had traffic stops in the development, and most of the people in the
Oh,
development.
I have no doubt. I have no
Okay,
doubt.
but, and regardless,
Remember, that's what happens when we do compliance.
Get beat up in the.
Well, and some of it may be
Now,
a
I'm talking about
visibility
if we
issue.
give away tickets to
Right,
people.
no, we understand, but some of it might be a visibility issue that, having the line.
What did you want me to do besides the stop sign? And
just painting the word stop in front of there.
Oh,
You know,
paint
just to
stop.
kind of exacerbate the fact that there's a stop sign there. The possibility, but
I don't know if we've ever done that.
Right, I know, I don't know if we have either, but at least the striping certainly would be appreciated.
That I know that they said they're going to do.
All right. The Q2 financials, I wasn't sure if they'd been completed, if we could get a copy of them at this point from John.
I didn't hear you.
The Q2 quarterlies.
Second quarterly.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure
We
if
haven't heard.
they'd been
did you
completed.
tell John?
I haven't emailed him yet, but I can't. I can
Okay,
send-
I'll tell him.
I did talk to John, and they are working on completing them. I asked him where they were, and he said as soon as they're completed, they'll get them out.
Okay, great, thank you. And then one final point. I do know that I've received confirmation that the Waterside has sold. There's a new developer there. And I brought up the question about the public improvements, and I wasn't sure of the terms of the sale on who's going to take responsibility of those public improvements. I know we delayed them for 2 years.
You're talking to down the river?
Yeah,
Waterside?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Joe?
The agreement of sale for Waterside, as I understand it, has Mignati remaining responsible for completion of the Phase 1 improvements. And Mignati also retains ownership of some portions of the project that are to be constructed in the future. I think they also kept ownership of the retail there on the corner, the store as you first enter the development. And I think they have the final phase, which is down where the marina and high-rise building was to be constructed. As I understand it, Lennar has assumed responsibility for all of their home warranties and is now standing in the shoes of Mignati as far as that goes. So, to the extent that somebody may have had a claim against Mignati, they would now be taking it to Lennar under the exact same term. So if something had expired, it's expired. If something hadn't. And then for the next phase of construction, Lennar will be posting the site improvement money for the second phase.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Thank you for that update. So I'm assuming we won't see the completion of the public improvements until those 2 years end, since there was a vote earlier this year to delay that.
Well, when the majority of the public improvements for the first phase, as I understand it, are in. There are still some houses which remain to be completed, and Lennar will be building them, but insofar as construction of sidewalks, curbs, roadways and the like, the majority of those, except where the things are to be constructed, have been installed. As far as the paving, you'll have to forgive me, I don't know where things may be as far as final paving. I know that Lennar has had at least one meeting with the homeowners to make them aware of the fact that they had now purchased the project and would be taking over from Mignati, and that residents were provided with the contact information for the various people within the Lennar organization for them to reach out to with questions and the like. It's also my understanding that they intend to resume construction of the remaining unfinished units in the first phase. I think they told me their target date was by the end of September, beginning of October.
Okay. And there were a few homes that were constructed, however, the sidewalk wasn't even completed yet at that point, and there were residents in there at that point. Then whose responsibility is that going to fall on McNally then?
Yes.
And then, like, when can we expect that to be complete then?
They won't get a UNO till the sidewalk is in.
Yes.
Shouldn't be anybody living in there.
It's a safety issue. The safety issue,
Is there people living in it?
Yeah, there was, yeah, and there was, the landscaping still wasn't complete in front of there. They were actually walking on rocks that were going up to their front door.
Is it still that way? Do we have the address that we can have them go out and look at it?
I can certainly share that, yeah.
Yeah, let's get that to Ron and.
Okay.
I believe maybe it happened, but I've never seen that, actually. But I did sell one unit in there, but sometimes they have one layer of the driveway and they code it after settlement, but I've never seen
Okay.
a unit go in a unit without a sidewalk to the front.
They can't get a UNO.
Right, that's what I thought, okay.
They shouldn't, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
Okay.
They should.
I don't know how to respond.
Yeah, I'll
Get
get
it over
yeah.
and let them go out and
Okay.
research it.
Okay. But the landscaping and so forth is also going to be part of McDonnie then too, to finish that in front of those homes that are ready to be constructed?
I believe so, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Knowles?
And I'll verify that and get back to you, Mr. Dr. Major, but I believe that was the conditions of that transaction.
And that's fine, thank you. And I mean, since they're doing phase 4, I just want to make sure that they complete what needs to be completed through phase 1. Thank you.
They're going into phase 2, right?
Well, a new developer.
No, they're finishing up phase 1, the houses are starting phase 2.
That's not the understanding that I'm getting. McNally still holds some type of responsibility.
He's not doing that until very end. He still holds, he kept the retail, is my understanding. He also kept the last phase, which had to do with the high-rise.
When you asked about public.
Public improvements, correct.
Right.
And
But you're not talking about the building of the houses.
no, nope.
Public
No.
improvements are.
But landscaping in front of the homes that are being constructed there.
Right. They have to do that now.
Mr. Plaza did say that they were still responsible. I actually don't know if that's the case. I think Lennar's going to finish that, actually.
You may be correct. I may have that and Somerton Valley, which was also sold to Lennar. I may have them backwards in my head.
Lennar's finishing, they already cleaned up a lot.
Yeah.
Down there again.
They're honoring all
Yeah,
of the
and
past.
they're meeting the people, and they're doing it. They're one of the biggest builders in the United States. I mean, they're not like small. They're very big builders. They got a lot of backing.
Sure, yep,
So they're not messing around down there.
That's fine. The point here is I just want to make sure it gets completed.
They have a
That's
lot
really
of
what-
staff on site that weren't there with the other builders,
Yep.
so that's going to make things move a lot quicker and get finished quicker, so.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Knowles?
I would like to mention that the Unionville Road Bridge, okay, is finally almost open. It's completely open. Yeah, they were painting today.
It is.
And they did a fine job, I would say. I mean, it was a long interruption. I live right there. I go down every day. But it was a long interruption, and people were walking on it despite our efforts not to allow them to walk during construction. And now it has a separate walking area that's protected by a wall, and it's plenty wide, and they did a tremendous job as far as I can see, and it looks good. So I'm really, really happy that that's done. And also, I would like to wish everybody happy Labor Day, and I would like to, give my condolences to John McCain and his family and also the entire country. He's one of the greatest Americans, I think, that's lived in at least our generation, and he's owed nothing but respect as a American war hero and a senator serving our country. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kissenbach?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to wish everyone a happy Labor Day coming up. Enjoy our family, and to our Jewish friends, September 17th, wish everyone a happy Rosh Hashanah. What year is it?
57.
57, 79.
I knew it was 57 something, but I didn't have it that accurate. Okay, well, Happy New Year to our Jewish
Is that what
friends.
it is?
And to reiterate what Mr. Knowles had just said, our condolences to the Senator McCain and his family, and best wishes for all of them. And he was certainly a rebel with a cause. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll just say ditto to all the things that were here. It's been, Mr. Paizo, did you?
Yes, to clarify my earlier comments on Waterside, Mignati is not finishing out Phase 1, Lennar is.
Lennar is, yeah.
I had that in Somerton, which we were just meeting with last week, crossed in my head there. So Lennar is finishing out that.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be 9/17/18. We have a motion to adjourn.
I made the motion.
Motion.
We're adjourned.